Welcome in, ladies and gentlemen, to MBR, or as we like to call it around here, Nothing But Rants, the show where I find topics that I'm oddly passionate about and I pontificate upon them. These are not hot takes, but rather takes that I'm hot about. What's up?
Really like that.
You really like that?
Let's shut up and grind some tape.
What is up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome into the Film Guy Network, brought to you by Better this evening. Terrific Wednesday to be right here on the Film Guy Network. We usually, as usual, I should say, have a loaded show for you guys. It is slammed, packed. We are nearing ever so closely. We're what, like 14 days from week 0? Not even that. Maybe 10 days from week 0.
Yeah.
10 days from week 0. We are almost into single digits from college football, and you can feel it. You can feel it in the air. But I want to open with this right here, man. I got to be honest. I am all for making a splash, particularly when you're a school that not a lot of people talk about. If you are a football program that not a lot of people keep in their mainline news stream, if you're not on the timeline very often, I am all for making a splash, particularly with regards to recruiting these days. Momentum is a real thing. Kids are very persuadable. If you get one big chipper, okay, that might lead into other prospects leading up into your class or landing in your class. The only thing about making splashes on the recruiting trail nowadays, however, it costs you real money. It costs you actual tangible money, like not cash, not stuff that nobody can really quantify, not stuff that we think. All right, we got real reportable data. We got real actual factual data on the cost that it actually is to land blue chip prospects, okay? Which brings us to today's news. Look, Georgia Tech is not a historical recruiting program, okay? In fact, Georgia Tech has signed one 5-star in the history of 5-star rankings. We all know who the 5-star is. They signed so few of 5-stars, saying that stat right now, without me even telling you the name, we all know who it was. It was Calvin Johnson. Now, granted, Georgia Tech is 1 for 1. Okay, they signed one 5-star, and that player happens to be the greatest football player in the history of their program. Okay, they are 1 for 1 with regards to signing 5-stars, but we know the deal. They have only signed one, which brings us to today's news. Josh Petty, the 5-star offensive tackle out of Fellowship Christian here in Atlanta, Georgia, Roswell, Georgia, I should say, Northwest Atlanta, outside the belt don't really count. Okay, that includes you Atlanta Braves out there in Cobb County. Okay, outside of Atlanta, nonetheless, a Roswell athlete from Fellowship Christian, a 5-star offensive tackle, commits to Georgia Tech. And I want to start with this. He is a massive land for Georgia Tech, in a bubble, certainly, right? He chose Georgia Tech over Florida State, Ohio State, Tennessee. This was certainly a big boy battle. This was not this was a random 5-star. Why did he end up at Georgia Tech? Nobody really wanted. That wasn't the case. This was a big boy battle that Georgia Tech won. And again, in a vacuum, Georgia Tech landed a 5-star, and that is newsworthy. That is congratulations worthy in a vacuum. Only problem, this wasn't a vacuum. Okay, there were reports today that Josh Petty cost Georgia Tech around $800,000 per year. Okay, a contract that is worth $800,000 a year for 3 years. They will be paying him $2.4 million, okay, during his 3-year time period at Georgia Tech. Whatever happens in the 4th year, I don't know. Maybe they go up into negotiation. Maybe he's a free agent as a senior. If he's still there, he must be planning to go to the NFL after 3 years. And maybe Josh Petty does become a 5-star player in college, right? I can't guarantee that he won't. I can't guarantee that he will, right? It's a toss-up no matter what with all of these kids as to whether or not they live up to their 5-star status. We know that based off the history of 5-stars. It's only about a 50% hit rate across the board historically with these things since they have been, right? I know he's really talented, and I certainly know he plays really, really, really hard. And I have been on this channel for years talking about you better be talented, you better be athletic as an offensive lineman, but you damn sure better play hard. That's like the number one requirement. And he certainly checks that box. But I can guarantee you right now, I can't guarantee whether or not he's going to be a 5-star football player in college football, but I can guarantee you right now, a third of this money that they're spending is going to get spent on gaining weight. Okay, there's no secret. Josh Petty is 260 pounds soaking wet right now. So I can tell you that you have a 3-year contract worth $2.4 million, a third of which I'm not going to say is wasted, but a third of which will not be spent on him playing on your football field. A third of which will be spent on the first year of him being in college putting weight on. Because there is no doubt about it, wherever he went in college, he's going to be spending year one putting weight on. At 260, he's got to get to at least 290 pounds to be serviceable even on an ACC field. Maybe he can play at 285, but we're still talking about a year's worth of physical development and physical growth. I don't even want to do the single A football transition period, all that good stuff, because everyone's got transition at offensive line. It's extremely hard to where if you're playing a damn Matter Day out in California, playing the worst or the best of the best in terms of schedules, or if you're at Grayson in 7A, I don't care who you are, if you are a true freshman trying to start as an offensive tackle, it is really, really hard. Okay, really hard, let alone for a guy that's going to have to put on a massive amount of weight. So that there's questions about even spending the money on this, but here's my question. You want to make a splash. You want to spend $2.5 million. You want to spend $800,000 a year on an athlete. Why not go get a quarterback? Why not go buy a quarterback? Why not go buy Julian Lewis? Or why not go buy one of these quarterbacks that is influential by some of this money, okay? And then hopefully the quarterback will ultimately win you football games and impact you on Saturdays far more than an offensive tackle ever will. Even if Josh Petty is a first-round football player 3 years from now, if he is the number 1 overall pick as an offensive tackle, that's not winning major football games for Georgia Tech. And even if he signs in this class, he will. Josh Petty's not making splashes on the recruiting trail, I wouldn't imagine, for Georgia Tech. He is a really, really good football player. He will be a really, really good football player. But this just seems like an improper allocation of funds. A misuse of funds is what this appears to be for me. And I can point to why. I understand why. Brent Key is the offensive line head coach in the ACC. Brent Key is the offensive line head coach in all of college football that ain't named Sam Pittman. The rest of these guys were OCs. The rest of these guys were, head coaches at mid-major programs. Brent Key was an interim head coach that was an O-line guru, and the world knew him as such. And then at his alma mater, he did well enough as an interim coach to become a head coach. And he did a great job getting boosters influenced and engaged and ready to spend money on his roster after a really good season last year. I just think this is a misuse of funds, and I don't think it has anything to do with Josh Petty. I think I would have said this if they had bought Juan Gaston, okay? I just don't understand why you make your big splash at the offensive tackle position, boys.
Could this be that Brent Key figured that he needs to get some 5-star in that building to kind of build recruiting momentum? And
this was the most winnable?
Yeah. Like you look around, okay, we can't really win 5-star quarterbacks around, even if we throw a bag at him. Let's go ahead and get this kid that we are very confident that we can land, so that way it's an investment for 5 stars in the future. Say, hey, Georgia Tech's a program where 5 stars go to now, and then you build the recruiting up from that way. That's the only reason I can think that he did this.
It just feels like someone gave you $2.4 million, and instead of buying a house, you went and got a rental property that you have to pay $800,000 a year for, where a quarterback feels more like you're investing in something. It's something that you could potentially get a return on. You can still get a return on Josh Petty as an offensive lineman, but getting a return on a recruit would be like you getting a 5-star quarterback like Juju Lewis, and then maybe he brings in a 4-star wide receiver, or he brings in somebody because when Georgia Tech got Josh Petty, certainly there was attention around it, but really the attention came when it was, they paid him how much? Yeah. It wasn't that they landed him. It was, they spent a lot of money to get this guy, and it feels like you could have put it somewhere else, or at least at the very worst spread it out amongst some other athletes.
I mean, what's more important, paying Josh Petty and landing the 5-star, or let's say you landed 3 top 300 players for $200,000 a year at the offensive line position? I think Georgia Tech's probably a little bit smarter to do the latter route than the first route.
I agree, but I mean, Brent, he clearly would disagree with you.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's his money. Mm-hmm. It's the money that they have allotted to him, and he can go spend it however he wants. It doesn't mean I can't sit here on this show and criticize it, because I think I don't think it's a mistake. I think it's a misuse of funds. I think we could have spread this in a world where we are dealing with salary caps. By the way, who was it that hired a general manager? Someone's out here putting up money for a general manager, huh? Look it up for me. There are already major Power 4. It might have been Florida. Major Power 5 football programs that are already allotting salaries, okay, to hire general managers for their football team because they can't keep the salary cap tight right now, and we're about to go into salary or revenue share. So we're about to go into a world where you have to be able to spread your money as thin as you possibly can. Georgia Tech's already in that world. They're not one of these programs with an endless budget. I understand your point's the best point so far, Kirby, as to why they did this. This was the most landable massive recruit. Okay, this was the football player that took interest into them, that maybe Georgia wasn't sniffing around, that maybe Alabama wasn't sniffing around, that maybe Ohio State and Tennessee kind of liked, but you loved. Okay, and I think that might have been the situation.
It was Florida, by the way.
It was Florida? Mm-hmm. It was Florida.
Which, I mean, you can't necessarily fault Brent Key for doing that because it's obvious. We've seen it time and time again. You get a 5-star in your building, it builds momentum around that recruiting class that you're getting. So, I mean, he's clearly banking on this being an investment not only to serve as a very solid offensive tackle, but to also bolster your... Damn, I'm using it again. Dion's messed me up with that word. But no, to build your recruiting class around for the future.
2.4 is hefty.
Very. Extremely.
For a tackle.
A little too hefty.
Especially, I don't think there's, and I could be wrong, I don't think there's any way that kid's starting as a true freshman.
Yeah.
I don't care how talented he is. He's got the talent gap that he's got to shrink between going from single A private school football to what he's about to play in the ACC. And he's got to put on a bare minimum 30 pounds. Mm-hmm. And there's some people in this industry that think he projects as a guard. I don't see that. I think that's a little bit crazy to me. And maybe they do get him up to speed and get him ready to roll because of how much money they're spending on him. And maybe this report of $800,000 is fugazi. Mm-hmm. Maybe Pete Nakos is just wrong. I don't believe that to be the case, though.
And maybe kind of going off Kirby's point of they knew this was the most winnable recruit, and now you get to advertise this and publicize this of we can do this if we want to. Like, we are able to get these funds together, and if we want to pay someone a lot of money, we are not afraid to do it.
So you're telling me this is Brent Key's version of what Josh Heupel and Power Sports reportedly did with Nico?
Yeah.
Where they're like, hey, we just gave this 17-year-old senior in high school $8 million and flew him out on a PJ. What y'all got to say about that? And NCAA, when you come for us, we're going to ruin your entire existence in court.
Yeah.
Isn't that kind of cool how that played out? It's like, we're going to leak this to the Athletic, an unknown athlete that Tennessee may or may not be recruiting is going to get $8 million. A week later, Nico, Iamaleava commits to Tennessee, and everybody's like, Interesting. Speaking of Tennessee, interesting color choice on the shirt you got there. That's bright.
It's not Tennessee orange, though.
That looks salmon almost.
But it's close.
The
viewer, it might look
maybe,
like that.
But
in the confidence monitor, it certainly looks relatively bright.
It is bright. I mean, it's a neon color.
All right, I'm seeing it now over here on the screen. It looks a little salmon. You're right.
Yeah.
Okay. We'll give you a pass.
I wouldn't look good in Tennessee orange.
I don't think anybody
does. I can't pull that off.
I don't think anybody does.
That's fair.
I don't think anyone's ever looked drippy in Tennessee orange.
It works as
closest case, Eric Berry. That's all I got.
It works as an accent color if you got black. Like, they're all black uniforms that they had were nice.
The all black's all right.
But it can't be the dominant.
As long as we're removing as much of that hideous orange as humanly possible.
That's fair.
Eric Berry, drippiest Tennessee player ever. I love how Eric Berry had the white wristbands mid forearm and wore no gloves. They were an Adidas school at that time too.
Yeah,
he would go white ankle socks.
Who was the D lineman they had in the late '90s? Had the all black visor, neck.
I don't know. We're gonna need Navy guy here.
I'm sure he'll pull it up.
I'm gonna do some googling.
Anything
on the Tennessee color?
I guess. Or should we just welcome folks in?
I think that's
what we should do. Welcome into tonight's show. We do indeed have a loaded one for you. It is Wednesday. We're going to play What If Wednesday. We're going to talk about our unranked long shots. It's never happened before, but there has been an unranked team that's made the playoff. They just don't win once they get there. We have 12 teams nowadays. We're going to tell you the teams that might be making that top 11 that are outside the top 25 AP rankings right now. No, we are not including Group of 5 football teams in that list right there. ESPN's matchup prediction predictor results have come out for week 0 and week 1. We are going to play a little game of Guess the Predictor. It's very similar to Guess the Lines around here, but Jonathan and I are going to play instead. And then we're also going to play a little game of one word. We're going to give you 7 football teams. You have to describe that football team in 2024 using one word. And, of course, we have the top 10 football teams. We're going to talk about which of those top 10 football teams are most likely to finish the 2024 season unranked. I think that'll be a fun one. But first and foremost, I want to give a quick shout out to our friends over at Better. Better now offers college football props. Enter more than or less than key stats on college football players. You can play in 23 states now, including our fine home state of Georgia. Better is matching first deposits up to $250 if you use code Brooks or click the link in the description of this video today. Super glad to have Better on with us this year. You guys know how we feel about props on this channel. Props are easy plays if you're connected to college football. You regional fans that we have on this network, this should be your home, right? Better should be where you are out here raking it up because you know the individual matchups that are most important heading into that week, especially if you're listening to this network, because we give you a football-based analysis, and a lot of that plays into some of those matchup predictions that we will be giving you this year over on Better. Shouts out to those guys. Shouts out to you guys for being here tonight. Make sure you're hitting that thumbs up button, like, subscribe, and rate, review. And most of you are wondering, hey, what the hell is he talking about? Rate, review. And we are available on podcast platforms. However, wherever you get your podcasts, just search the Film Guy Network. You will find us readily available over there. Make sure you're subscribing. Make sure you're leaving a review over there as well. It is Wednesday, boys. I figured no better place to start than What If Wednesdays. Did you find our 1990s defensive tackle from Tennessee that had that drip?
It was Al Wilson, who I'm thinking
Al
of.
Wilson.
Number 27 for the, I don't remember what the year it was, but.
Oh, no, he had that shit on.
Yeah.
He had that shit on. A little cowboy collar on him, too.
Yeah. Back when the shoulder pads are like up to your head.
Yeah. Always loved the defensive lineman face mask on the old Schuts that had the extra hoop on the front nose bend, too. Oh, yeah. Them some bad MFers.
What was the practicality of that?
Make sure it was the visor before the visors. Make sure you didn't get any hands in there, I would imagine.
Did it work?
No, none of it worked except for the mid bar. The mid bar, however, would make me see 2 bars.
Yeah.
Did you ever notice that?
Oh, yeah.
You probably didn't play rec football. So
rec football
football with the mid bar, you see 2 bars on that mid bar cross.
It's tough.
Yeah. Love old helmets.
Good for your head.
Yeah, great for the head, man. Great for the head. What If Wednesday? Here we go. Here's how this is going to happen. Speaking of the Georgia Tech splash, right? Spending money on a bunch of offensive line production and potential. What if Georgia Tech would have taken that $800,000 a year and just called a couple of more nerds and just said, hey, I know we asked for $800K, but we actually need 1.3 because that's what it's going to take to get Bryce Underwood.
They would probably have a more spread out quality of talent that they have right now. Like you have this 1 5-star, which is great. I don't know if they would be making as much of a splash on the recruiting trail
if they signed Bryce Underwood as opposed to Josh Petty.
I disagree with that.
Nah, yeah.
I mean, that's
if
number
Buster
one.
Faulkner and Georgia Tech signed Bryce Underwood, the number 1 quarterback in America, and brought him from freaking Detroit, Michigan down to Atlanta to play for the Buzz Jackets, it would be absurd.
Yeah, you're right. I take it.
It would be the biggest recruiting story of the year.
Dude, Georgia Tech would be all the rave in the ACC next offseason.
It would be, I mean, imagine if people believed in Billy Napier as a head coach at Florida right now, because this is the way teams would talk. People would talk about DJ Lagway. Right now, people are just talking about DJ Lagway as the biggest potential sweepstakes in the portal. The moment Billy Napier is fired, maybe we get to see him this year. Hopefully, next year is the way Florida fans feel about it. But if, a player like Bryce Underwood were signing with Georgia Tech, that would be even more monumental than the one we just laid out.
Yeah, absolutely.
I agree.
Big time what if. I like that.
Might be asking that in a few years.
I've got one.
What's up?
What if Jackson Arnold is a top tier QB this year? Like he is everything that Brett Venables thought he was, but Oklahoma loses 3 or 4 games still.
I mean, I would check out to me. I think Oklahoma is like 4 or 5 defensive playmakers away and an entire offensive line away from being consistently good in this conference.
Right, but I feel like and this could be wrong, this just might be my perception on it, but the success of this season for Brett Venables is going to be gauged by how well Jackson Arnold does. because you let Dylan Gabriel walk supposedly for this guy to start. Like if Jackson Arnold is a failure, this season is a disaster for you. Whereas if he's a great quarterback, like, hey, Brett Reynolds made the right decision here. So
I think you said lose 3 or 4 games.
yeah,
I think if you lose 3, you're fine. Like 9-3 season, that's kind of where you're projected to be at in the rankings right now. You're projected to be this top 15, top 20 team. 9-3 likely puts you in that range. You're not a playoff team, but I think that if you're around that range, then you're fine. 8-4, you might still be ranked. You might still be a top 25 team, depending on how everything goes. I think the real danger is you can't go south of that. You can't go south of going 8-4.
I think the real danger is, what if you go 9-3, Jackson Arnold looks great, and your defense looks like shit for the 3rd year in a row?
Yeah, that's not
under
good.
a defensive-minded head football coach.
Not good.
That would be the big concern for Oklahoma.
So it's more how you go 9-3 than
Correct.
anything.
I think they're an 8-4 football team anyways this year. I think someone has to be 8-4. We can't all be 10-2.
Yeah, someone has to be. One of these SEC teams that are ranked has to turn in like a somewhat disappointing season. They can't all meet their expectations. It never happens.
Somebody's got to fall on their face.
Absolutely. What if the Heisman Trophy race turns into a running back loaded group this year? What if Ollie Gordon goes crazy, Ashton Jeanty goes crazy for Boise State, Donovan Edwards is carrying the Wolverines to wins consistently this year, and what if like Quinshon Judkins or Trayvon Henderson is like putting up big numbers, like one of them just Travion, sorry,
you're good.
Travion Henderson, and like one of those guys just has an absolute stellar season.
I would say we're having a really bad quarterback season.
I would say there's questions at quarterback at a lot of schools, though.
Yeah, I mean it's
lot of schools.
it's totally feasible. I think that unfortunately, like we all know what it is at this point. The Heisman Trophy is a quarterback first award. So
Were those rumors today on Ollie Gordon, by the way?
Yeah, they were just rumors.
we heard him yesterday
False
too.
rumors.
Yeah.
Someone's spreading fake news around here.
But like obviously it wouldn't just be a group of running backs in New York at the end of the year, but what if there's like 2 or 3 of them and then you have one quarterback, like one of Carson Beck or any of these other quarterbacks ends up just being the absolute dog amongst the group and really separates themselves, and then these other running backs are just so good that you can't possibly ignore them.
It would make watching college football more interesting because like I can't remember the last time where a running back was must-see TV in college football.
Yeah, that's a good clarification here. Are these guys at the top of the Heisman Trophy candidacy because quarterbacks are down, or are they up there because they're all having like Reggie Bush type seasons?
That's what I'm more so going for. Like they're so good.
I'm glued. I'm like you. Nothing is more tantalizing to me than a running back getting 30 totes and going for 250, and everybody on the screen knowing every single time he touches it, it might be 75.
Yeah, and I feel like college football hasn't really had one of these.
Christian McCaffrey.
Yeah, and I mean, he's pushing 10 years ago now.
Christian McCaffrey was the last one in my mind. Where I'm like, every time this dude touched it, maybe
Derrick Henry, but that's
Derrick
also...
Henry was like, let's watch him get 45 totes today.
Yeah.
He was Toby Gerhart, 6'4", 225.
Exactly.
Wisconsin had a couple of them too, like Amir Abdullah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's Big Ten Wisconsin, 8-5,
I think Amir Abdullah
or 9-4
yeah,
football.
but I mean,
no one was watching.
That's kind of what some of these teams feel like. Some of these names, like these teams feel like 9-3, 8-4. But yeah, I think there's potential where all of them.
Saquon was one of these.
Definitely Saquon.
But even Saquon, I felt like was like an 8-game span where he was really, really good in college.
Why am I blanking on his name? The Michigan guy, Michigan State in 2021 hit that back.
Kenneth Walker.
Kenneth Walker. He was like the last one where it's like, hey, this guy, you got to watch Michigan State football.
They ought to call him the $80 million man.
Yeah.
Mel Tucker's $80 million man that he fumbled because of some inappropriate text messages.
Whoops.
Man, you talking about bad scouting. How you harass the lady this job is to make sure people aren't harassing women. That's crazy. That's crazy. That's a fumble.
Fumblerooski.
Yeah, big time. Hey, what if Miami loses to Florida to start the season?
Mario Cristobal's cooked.
You talking about all the hype, because I don't know if we talked about this briefly, but the more and more I talk about it, I guess the more and more my devices are listening to me and putting propaganda on my timeline about Miami. But Miami fans think this is the year. Miami fans got like ACC championship expectations. I heard one national analyst say the floor for Miami this year, the expectation is 11-1. That's what we got people out here talking about Miami this year about. Yes.
Floor?
That this is the best quarterback they've ever had, that they have NFL talent on the offensive and defensive lines, that they're going to have a defense put together, that the offense is going to be explosive. Look at all these weapons. They're damn sure going to be able to run the ball. Look how great the running back room is. Look at all the additions. Look at how much they spent on this roster. We're all in on Miami, says the booster base this year. I mean, and what if they take an L to Billy Napier's Florida Gators on the road week 1?
Yeah, the amount of confidence you get from boosters almost never seems to pay off. I've noticed that. Like we talked about, I don't remember if it was last week or earlier in this week, where it seems like every year there's one or two of these teams where it's like, hey, the boosters are really excited about this team. They think this is the year. They're going all in, pushing their chips in. And those teams almost never meet expectations, and it reflects so poorly on the coach that it almost damns the rest of their career at that school.
The bad news for Miami is that if it does go that way, there's no future direction, it feels like, for this program in the near future. It doesn't feel like there's a bridge from, okay, we have Cam Ward, he's our gap year filler, that this is our guy that we're hoping is going to spark something in this program and really get us going in the direction that we've been waiting on for so long. I mean, once the Cam Ward experiment is up, and if it goes poorly in week 1, it doesn't really feel like there's a whole lot that Miami has on the horizon that feels like this program is just going to stay afloat or keep on rising or take that leap forward.
What if their best bet is the fact that the ACC is down this year?
Well, you lose to Florida State, you can still dominate the ACC, make the championship, and maybe
Florida, to start the season.
Yeah, you lose to Florida, you still can win the ACC and maybe make a championship there and all be saved. But my experience with Miami fan base, if you lose that championship, they're going to check out very quickly.
Oh yeah.
And it's like you're going to lose that program pretty quickly.
I mean, instead of the lower bowl being full and the upper deck being completely empty at Hard Rock Stadium, the lower bowl will be empty as well.
Yeah, it'll get bad.
Yeah.
Worst home field advantage for any top 25 team in the country, yes or no?
Off the top of my head, yeah.
Can we talk about College Football 25 giving them one of the 25 best home advantages in the game?
Me?
Dude, yeah. When I played them the other day, they had a ranked stadium environment. I was like, who the heck?
They slicked my new team on that game. Cam Ward's kind of nice.
Kansas is still, I'm still rocking with the Jayhawks.
Okay, Kansas. I finally beat them last night.
They nerfed them, apparently.
They had to nerf Kansas?
Yes, they had to nerf them.
Crazy.
I was dubbing people
Is
up
that
with
the first time Kansas has ever had to be nerfed in anything?
They're probably really
maybe
good
in one of the old basketball
early
games.
basketball games, maybe. I don't
but did nerfs exist?
Early basketball games weren't getting.
It was
revamped.
Like whatever it is, that's what it is.
Yeah,
it was released. That's what you get, buddy.
If 689 hook is OP, it's just OP the rest of the time.
That's true. I didn't think about that. Yeah, this is probably the first nerf for Kansas.
Lance Leipold's got to put that on his business card, right?
Got nerfed.
College football nerfed us.
That's sick.
As a byline on his wiki page.
I got one.
Yeah, come on.
What if Ohio State has a perfect regular season, they beat Michigan, they win the Big Ten championship, but they get absolutely drummed in their first playoff game? Like 2016 Clemson 31-0 bad.
Like they catch... It would probably be like Missouri at the 11 seed or whatever.
Yeah, something like that.
Something like that. Well, I guess they would get the 5 seed.
They'll get a bye. If they go all the way undefeated, they'll get a bye.
They'd be the number 1 seed likely.
Yeah, but if I'm saying,
so they would be
in their first playoff game. It'll probably be the quarterfinals.
All right, so if they're the 1 seed, they would play the winner of the 8-9 matchup.
Yeah, and then that number 8 team just beats them.
So
by
like
2
a Penn
scores.
State potentially,
or like an Ole Miss on my bracket.
Yeah,
or like an Ole Miss,
and then that team beats them by 2 scores. How do people look at Ryan Day? Because you beat Michigan. That's one of the things.
Are they fully healthy? No excuses. Fully healthy.
You can find excuses in any loss, though.
Yeah, but not if you got injuries, they're not blaming coaches. If it's a situation where, they lose by 2 or 3 touchdowns and it's like offense is real stagnant, looks like shit.
Will Howard doesn't play well.
Will Howard doesn't play well. Defensively, they get just absolutely rolled in the fourth quarter.
Couple of turnovers.
Yeah, if it's all of the reasons that people are already kind of ticked off at Ryan Day, signs of softness, can't win big games, doesn't show up, whatever they're already looking for, if it's those situations, then yeah. But if it's just had a bad day, I think people have to be a little bit more reasonable about
Or
these
like another
situations.
2022 playoff game against Georgia.
Yeah,
where
you miss a field goal, you play your ass off.
Your quarterback had a phenomenal day.
The opposing head coach calls one of the greatest timeouts in the history of college football playoff games.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I mean, by the way, had Kirby Smart not called that timeout, Ryan Day outcoaches Kirby Smart the entire football game.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, that was the turning point there.
What a fucking what a nutsy ass play call, by the way.
Yeah.
To call a fake punt right there, have it licked, it's a timeout, and like, shit. I mean, the ball's at their own 37, I think in that situation. The nads on that guy. If it goes right, and it was, by the way, it was hitting. From the box, you could see it. Eichenberg catches the football, they blow it up dead, and they're like, whoa, they were about to run a fake for 25 yards on our ass. Ryan Day is a hero in that football game if Kirby doesn't call that timeout.
Yeah. It's considered one of the best moments of college football history.
But nobody talks about it.
It's not talked about enough.
It's not
people in the
talked about
Georgia
enough.
space talk about it a good bit.
People talk far more about the Brock Bowers first down in that football game than they do. People talk far more about the Marvin Harrison knockout than they do that.
Yeah.
People talk far more about the Arian Smith touchdown than they do about that.
True.
And that was the biggest changing moment in that football game.
Yeah,
no doubt.
That and the Brock conversion are two of the biggest plays.
The Brock play is just one of the most athletic things you could ever possibly see on a football.
You don't win without either of those plays. Which is insane to think.
What if South Carolina's offense plays like it does on College Football 25, but they finish 6-6?
Oh,
so like
Shane Beamer's retained.
Like, they found something on offense, but maybe the defense is just still really struggling.
And you're guaranteed to have Lenore Sellers for another year.
Yeah.
God, he looks like Michael Vick in that football game.
He does.
He's crazy good in that game.
And Nick Harbor is unstoppable. Like, if those things play out,
still can't catch the ball.
Rocket Sanders,
in the video game. Rocket
Sanders goes back 2 years, and he's that form like he was at Arkansas. Like, they have a powerful run game. Lenore Sellers really figures things out. Like, I agree with you. I think the offensive promise that they would show in that scenario would overshadow everything else this upcoming season. Shane Beamer would definitely stick around.
Do you guys remember me pointing out? The chat does. Ty Barrett remembered it. Do you guys remember me pointing out that they ran a fake punt or almost ran a fake punt against Michigan?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I showed it. I was like, hey, I don't know if anybody knows, but they put this on film. They showed that they had a look and they checked out of it. Kirby saw it. Love that.
Sick.
Love that the chat remembered as well.
Yeah.
That's good shit.
Training.
That's good shit.
Where
were we at?
I was talking about South Carolina.
Oh, South Carolina. If that all plays out and they're still 6-6, with optimists, that's like optimistic 6-6.
What if you miss a bowl game? What if you go 5-7?
Impossible. Again? They're accepting that bowl game. They're South Carolina.
Yeah.
With energetic Shane Beamer, they're going.
I think at that point, South Carolina
He's getting mayonnaise dumped on his ass. It's happening.
They have to
jumping into a Pop-Tart. Go ahead.
I would see that. At that point, you have to kind of lean into we're the fun team that can play spoiler thing. Like, I think Shane Beamer, he clearly said that at media days that they believe that they should be a playoff team. They should be competing in the SEC.
Did you see what our mans did the other day?
What did he do?
You saw it. You're already laughing.
Yeah.
My man's sent a happy birthday cake, a photo of a cake. So virtual cake that I'm assuming somebody in the office ate for the individual's birthday that wasn't there. Anyways, took a picture of him holding a cake, happy birthday, and sent it to a recruit that plays at Walton, at Cass. And if you look down, man's got the dogs out. Man's got the feet out. On the main timeline, out here recruiting kids with virtual birthday cakes. Shane Beamer had the toes out on the timeline. Just giving them for free in the middle of a work day. Could you imagine?
Consistency.
You're the receptionist. You walk in, you say, Coach Beamer, Commissioner Sankey dropped by. Unexpected. And here's Shane Beamer, feet kicked up, dogs out on the table for the free.
The funniest part about all this is like we're like 3 or 4 more of these instances happening before you be like, you know what? I respect it.
No. We can't be out here giving the toes.
You can walk around barefoot all you want, but you can't be posting it and showing it. And
you can't take a happy birthday photo with the dogs out. You just can't do it.
You can't be in it at least.
At least crop the photo, man.
Yeah, man. Come on.
Got to have some self-respect, Beamer.
What if Colorado goes 6-6 this year?
Congrats.
Is that overperforming?
I think it is.
I think everyone's got them going under 500.
Yeah.
I don't know. One local beat reporter told Prime, "I love you guys. I got y'all winning 8 games this year." To which Prime responded, "Only 8?" So Prime thinks they're going undefeated, setting it up for some misery there. What are you looking up?
I was looking up the Big 12 championship odds.
6-6. Colorado is covering by a game and a half. I guess the line's
That would be
4.5 in
overperforming,
Vegas.
I would say, based on
You think
these
it's
odds.
overperforming?
Yeah, because they have the, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11th best odds to win the Big 12.
And Vegas has got them winning 4.5 games this year. That's the line.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah.
So it would be
It's
overperforming.
overperforming. Making a bowl game.
That's the response. They go 6-6.
But
it's
knowing the hype that comes with Deion and the way the media treats him, if Deion Sanders overperforms, watch out for 2025.
Do they deny the bowl game bid? I can see it.
Well, no. Shador is definitely opting out, and I don't think they have a backup quarterback.
That's what I'm saying. Like, I think they would deny the bowl
just
bid.
the whole team just
and then make it a
opts out.
whole thing.
What if Shador gets injured this year?
And it would be a whole thing about that wasn't the goal that we wanted, so we're not going to play in it. Like we're
too good for the bowl game.
Yeah.
The first act of post Shador Sanders, Travis Hunter, Shiloh Sanders regime at Colorado would be the whole entire team opting out of a bowl game.
Kind of sick.
That would be sick. It would check out for sure. Hey, what if we have not a single non-Power 5 team worth an absolute shit? What if Liberty's like 9-2?
I think we're very quickly.
9-3.
I think this
What
year.
if App State's terrible?
Yeah, I mean, I think obviously one of them has to get in the playoff the way it's set up right now. But I think this will be the year where we all look at the system and go, "All right, that's got to change."
Year one.
Like
Love it.
you had your Group of 5 charity game. We let Cincinnati in 2021. We've had another where they auto bid. It doesn't work out. Group of 5 does not belong in the playoff. Get them out of here. We're changing the
You'd
system.
almost be better off just saying, hey, whoever's better between Washington State and Washington, they get in.
Ooh.
Whoever's the better team
State
out of
and
those
Oregon
two.
State, you mean?
Or yeah, sorry.
The Pac-12 teams left
Yeah.
that are playing the Mountain West schedule.
Yeah.
Plus
Whoever's better between
some of
those
the
two.
Big 12 teams that were Pac-12.
Give them the nod.
Yeah.
I like that.
I do like that. If Wazoo's like 10-2, give me Wazoo over an 11-1 Liberty.
Or at least give the Trump option of like they can trump a G5 team is what I'm saying.
I was like, where's this?
Sorry, I was not trying to take it in that direction whatsoever.
You got to
But,
break out an impression.
There's
You fired.
But yeah, they have the option of like, yeah, we can pick a G5 team, but if one of these two teams is clearly better and is having a great season, they definitely deserve that final spot over a G5 team.
What if Miller Moss's bowl game wasn't a fluke?
Then Lincoln Riley is one of the best college football quarterback minds, and I think that'll be where you draw the line because I don't see USC, even if Miller Moss is a great quarterback this season, I don't see USC getting near the playoff. I don't see USC doing well in the Big Ten. So, I mean, okay, great, you have another Heisman caliber quarterback, but you have nothing to show for it once again. You're on year 7 or 8 of this happening, so I don't think it's not going to improve Lincoln Riley's situation that much. Like, you've already established you can develop quarterback talent. We know that. You can't really show that you can develop a team around it.
Chat's wilding already.
So it's gotten too political.
Yeah, it may not change the opinion of people in Lincoln Riley, but I think it definitely changes the outcome of your season for sure. I think it puts you in a much better position because right now the way people view the USC Trojans, or at least how I view them, is they're going to have like good quarterback play. I don't think they're going to have great quarterback play, but they're going to have good quarterback play, and they're probably going to finish like 8-4 this season or something like that. Whereas if Miller Moss is doing what he did in the bowl game, then that probably moves you up to 10-2, maybe 9-3. Like if you have great quarterback play, that's a difference maker in college football,
especially in the Big Ten.
It is, but you can only have a great quarterback so many seasons and not do anything else with it before people start to sour on you. And every year we've gotten more and more sour on Lincoln Riley. Like it was, hey, wow, he went from Baker Mayfield to Kyler Murray and then Jalen Hurts. And it's like, this guy's a quarterback whisperer. And it's like, well, he still can't win a playoff game to now he's at USC. And yeah, you had Caleb Williams, but those teams got progressively worse as time went on.
I got one more good one. What if Florida, Arkansas, South Carolina, and Vanderbilt all fire their head coach by November?
So that's 4 openings in the SEC. I mean, Vanderbilt.
Almost a quarter of the SEC.
I almost did a what if they all save their jobs somehow.
Ooh, that's impossible.
Impossible? We found a way for Shane Beamer to do it. We could find a way for Billy Napier and Sam Pittman to do it.
You're finding a way for Sam Pittman to survive October.
Apply the same thing that we did for South Carolina that we just did for Arkansas. What if their offense is as good as it is in College Football 25?
I haven't played a lick of football.
Okay, Taylor Green, really good.
Taylor Green's him?
Yeah, he is him in that football game. And they got apparently they got some wide receivers that are just stupid fast.
Huh.
If their offense is fun, if their offense is showing promise, I think you can apply that. Now, Florida, I mean, I don't know what saves his job from this, other than like it's got to be like, for me, it's consistently just been like, if DJ Lagway ends up getting the opportunity and he's everything is advertised.
The reason I'm proposing this is because I think there's going to be a point in time this year in the SEC and across college football where all these administrators are staring at a loaded gun of like, you know, that meme of everybody in the office doing this one of like, hey, who's going to fire their coach first so we can start interviewing potential head coaches first? You know what I mean? We get to be first up. Like if I'm Florida and Billy Napier's got that stench on him about midway through this season, I might go on and start getting on with it. You know what I mean? So I can have some clarity prior to December and prior to the portal with DJ Lagway. I can provide some clarity because that's the other thing we got to remember now. If you fire your football coach in November or in December, you got like 5 days to find a new coach to come in there and save your roster before the portal window opens up. If you fire your football coach in October nowadays or in early November now, you have an entire month and a half to get a new coach in place and have everyone bought in to that new name or that new face of your program prior to the portal window opening up. That's my only thought process. I think we might get to this time now where we get in the NFL. In the NFL, it's a race to who can fire their lame duck football coach so we can find our next guy.
If you're South Carolina and Arkansas, you want to beat Florida to the punch.
Yes.
Because if Florida gets you first, you're already getting leftovers because you have to. Florida's going to beat you out more than likely for anybody else that you would want. So if South Carolina and Arkansas are sitting there 5-6 weeks into the season and they've basically already come to a conclusion, like at the end of the year, like we're moving on, just go ahead and rip the Band-Aid off. Like go ahead and make sure that you take a step ahead of Florida because Florida is going to be the top dog amongst those 3 teams in the conference.
All right, it's my last what if. Should we get to unranked long shots?
Yeah,
I like
Let's
it.
do this. All right. Teams outside the top 25 that might have a realistic chance to make the college football playoff this season. I'll start with first and foremost the easiest selection of the night, in my opinion, which is
easiest?
West Virginia.
Oh, boy.
West Virginia. Here we go. The Fighting Neil Browns. All right. Now, I think West Virginia, follow me here, is the 2020 version of what 2023 Florida State was. Big 12, little down in terms of supremacy. Don't know who the leader is. You know, Utah used to run the Pac-12. We think they're going to run the Big 12. I don't know, though. What if Utah isn't what Utah was? What if Clemson wasn't what Clemson normally was last year? Well, here comes Florida State. And how did Florida State do so? A lot of people will tell you, well, Brooksy, they were pounding the transfer portal. They got a bunch of impact football players, particularly on the line of scrimmage, with the transfer portal, via the transfer portal, right? Look at all those defensive line talent guys. Oh, hey, listen, guys, those were actual year 2 transfers. They got those guys in 2022, played a whole year with them, okay? Took some tough losses, took some ugly L's, stormed at the end of the 2022 season that ultimately led into the 2023 season where they got all those transfers back, had that Uncle Mo on their side, rolled into 2023, rolled through the slate in the ACC. Guess what? West Virginia, same exact thing, guys. West Virginia won 5 out of their last 6 football games to end the season last year. And yes, there was some Keon Coleman-esque additions in their transfer portal additions this year where it's like, hey, we like our roster. We need a couple of, bonus additions on top. West Virginia, out of nowhere, making the college football playoff this year in a weak Big 12.
If that take turns out right, I will be floored.
The Fighting Neil Browns.
I would be.
Neil Brown on his deathbed prior to the 2023 season. Everybody's like, oh, shit, Neil Brown might be football coach. Saved his job last year. Got a fake extension this year. Mike Norvell, same path. People were comparing Mike Norvell to, what was the head coach before him?
Tuberville?
No.
Willie Taggart.
Willie Taggart.
Oh, Taggart.
People were like, do we got another Willie Taggart? They were doing the Willie Taggart schedule, or Willie Taggart first 3 years, Mike Norvell first 3 years.
Did Willie
graphics.
Taggart even make it 3 years?
They were doing it.
So the problem I have with that is that they'd have to beat Penn State in week 1, and then you have a 4-week stretch of Kansas, Oklahoma State, and then Kansas State in between of Iowa State. Like,
that was my only issue, too.
There's 3 losses on that schedule. I'm pretty
Say what now?
confident.
Run those back at me.
Penn State week 1.
Oh, they're dubbing Penn State week 1 right now. I'm telling you. Breaking news.
Wow.
Yep. Dub.
Okay.
Kansas week 4.
Ain't worried about it.
Oh.
Oklahoma State bye week. Oh, bye week, then Oklahoma State.
Let them drop it.
Then you go to Kansas State.
Dub. Come on.
Buddy from San Jose State might get you.
Buddy from San Jose State ain't beating the Mountaineers until hell freezes over. I'm telling you that right now.
Look, I love the idea of this happening. Saying this is the easiest decision, I think, is a little crazy.
I mean,
love
this
it.
was cake.
I
this
love
was
it.
so easy.
I love it.
This definitely was way easier than the 22 returning starters for Virginia Tech.
Yeah.
Way easier. Give me the Mountaineers.
I love it.
I like it. Respect.
I'll go with another Virginia team. I'll go with Virginia Tech. I think their roster. What do you
Captain
going at?
Easy stance. Next, he's going to tell us he wants to save the whales and pay the teachers more.
Pays to be right.
Come on.
But I think their roster is built similarly to how you were saying West Virginia's is compared to what Florida State was. It wasn't year 1 of all the transfers. It was the next year. Kyron Jones is not a first-year transfer for Virginia Tech. They got some other offensive pieces as well that are also going into their second year as transfers with Virginia Tech. Now, the defense, they had quite a few new transfers coming in there, so that might be a little bit of a concern. But the schedule, too, I think is pretty favorable. It's, sorry, I was down at the bottom. It's Vanderbilt week 1, Marshall, Old Dominion, Rutgers, Miami, Stanford, Boston College, Georgia Tech, Syracuse, Clemson, Duke, Virginia. So I mean, I think for the most part, it's pretty favorable. I think I think you can find some questions on the schedule as well. But for an unranked team, I think the ACC is very much a favorable conference to pick someone out of that bunch to make it out and make the playoff. I think Virginia Tech could be one of those teams.
Now we got Captain Easy stance takes flooding the chat.
Oh, healthcare is good.
Love it.
I like that. I mean, in a year where it seems like the ACC is kind of sneakily very open for anyone's taking, having a lot of returning starters, especially when a team like Florida State is rebuilding half of its roster and Clemson's kind of up in the air as to what they'll be, it bodes well for you. And I could see them sneaking in and winning the ACC. I mean, there's always, like you had Pitt do this a couple of years ago, where they just had a more experienced team in a down year in the ACC and went all the way to the ACC championship. So
I got my answer for next year.
who is it?
Have you seen the year 3 stats on Matt Rule? Matt Rule took over Temple the first year they won 1 game. The second year, I think they won 7. He ended up winning 10 games his last year there. He gets to Baylor amidst all of the hellstorm that the Briles family left over there at Baylor. And I think they win 2 games year 1. By the time he left, they were an 11-win program in year 3. Now, he doesn't stay for a year 4. He gets the hell up out of there, okay? I don't think that's the case with Nebraska because they're going to be able to pay him what they need to pay him if he does what he's been doing, which is turn programs around really quickly. It's year 2, so it's a little early, but they were 5-7 last year. I expect them to flip-flop that. I think they're a 7-5 football team this year as a floor. I just love, what he does as a football coach.
Yeah. 7-5 could get them ranked at the
Did you
end.
see the video of him talking to them about you don't change your shot when the game's on the line? You haven't seen this? He was giving a bunch of shit to his players. He stopped practice because they had fans in attendance, and he felt the vibe of the practice had changed. Like the execution level had altered. Guys were pressing a little bit. Guys were altering how they were going about practicing based off what they had been doing leading up to that, right before fans had been allowed at that scrimmage. And he calls them all together, and he's like, basically, you don't go into the game when the game's on the line and alter how you're going about your process. The process is the process. It sounded relatively similar to something that we hear around here quite often, is what I'm saying. And he's modeled everything that he can possibly off of what Georgia does and therefore what Alabama did all those years.
Very true.
It will be a year 3 tick for him. He'll get a year 2 tick this year. I just don't know if it's unranked to a playoff for Nebraska, but maybe next year.
Want to hear the one I got?
Yeah, come on.
The Auburn Tigers are a team I think that could sneak in the playoff. Keep in mind, they did this in 2013. They started the year unranked, made it all the way to the national championship. If you look at their schedule, there's 4 truly difficult games they play, and they're hard, don't get me wrong.
They get any of them at home?
They get Oklahoma at home. It's at Georgia, at Missouri, versus Oklahoma, at Bama. Think about it. If they go 2-2 in those matchups, you have 2 quality wins and 2 pretty quality losses. 10-2, that Auburn team with the momentum that Hugh Freeze can get, that is a sneaky playoff team. They could sneak into the 7 or 8 spot, I think.
Boy, they did not like that. They did not like that at all.
I'm going to call chat a little bit biased on that.
Yeah,
but
just a tad.
Just a tad. I mean, what Hugh Freeze showed you last year, other than the New Mexico State game, he knows how to coach. He knows what he's doing. He didn't always finish the job last year. That showed in the Georgia game, that showed in the Alabama game. But he can dial it up. So it's a team to look out for. And I'm not saying that Auburn is going to make the playoff this year. I'm saying if there was a non-top 25 team to make the playoff, I'd pick Auburn.
Does Auburn have a single NFL caliber offensive lineman? And I'm only asking because I don't know.
I don't know.
And I think that answers what we need to know about the quality of the offensive line.
Yeah.
So that's a concern.
I think we've kind of seen what the peak for Peyton Thorne is at this point.
I mean, don't get me wrong. There's reasons why all
Peyton Thorne sneaky fast.
Wow, that just changed my whole thought process on Auburn.
I don't know about that. Look, there's reasons why all 3 of these teams are unranked. Like, there's a lot of holes and a lot of questions everywhere. But if there was a team that I would say, you know what, if you told me at the start of the season, there's going to be a non-top 25 team that makes a playoff this year, I would say it would probably be Auburn.
Put them in the ACC or the Big 12, and I love it. But the fact that they're in the SEC is why I don't.
SEC
really
is
love
tough. They're not winning. They're not going to the championship.
Peyton Thorne, faster than you thought. Peyton Thorne, quicker than fast. Yeah.
Quicker than fast, huh?
Deceptive speed on Peyton Thorne.
There you go.
Yeah, there we go. Any other ones on the unranked long shots?
This is the one that I would put the most confidence in, actually. Like, Virginia Tech wasn't the one I had full confidence in. I think this is the most ideal unranked team could make the college football playoff this year. I think it is UCF. I think UCF has a legitimate shot to win that conference and be a college football playoff team this year because there's no Kansas, there's no Kansas State, there's no Oklahoma State. They get Utah late. That schedule is built for UCF to make a run in this conference.
Wait, hold on. They get Utah late and they don't play any other good teams?
No Kansas, no Kansas State, no Oklahoma State.
Wow.
That schedule is built for Gus Malzahn and KJ Jefferson and them to make a run in this conference.
There's also a Florida team on there that is kind of limping right now, and if you get an SEC win, that's quality.
Yeah, they got.
But also, it's a Florida team that has a lot of talent.
It doesn't matter though, because Florida State fans try to tell me that was a rivalry SEC win, and it was the reason they deserved to be in the playoff at the end of last year. So I don't want to hear shit about Florida not being a quality SEC win because it was last year when everybody was trying to get them in. So I don't want to hear none of that.
Yeah, UCF would be the team where, like, if you pin me down to it, that's the team I'm taking.
Damn. I like that take a little bit more than my West Virginia take. I'm not going to lie to you. I'm not going to lie to you. We got a lot left on these show notes. Which ones do we want to do? Because we don't have a lot of time left here on the National Hour. Do we want to do, of these 3 categories, and I would like the chat's opinions here, do we want to fight the ESPN matchup predictor for 5 or 6 games to start the football season? Do we want to establish one word for 7 of the top 10 football teams in the country? Or do we want to go through the top 10 and say which of those teams is most likely to lose or be unranked by the end of the season?
I think we have to do what the headline of the show is.
You're right. Top 10 disasters?
Yeah. All
right, let's do it. Top 10 teams most likely to be unranked at the end of the year. So essentially, you have to pick this team to be basically 7-5. Basically 7-5. 7-5 as a Power 4 football team makes you unranked. 8-4, borderline ranked 23rd through 25 in these rankings. Just ask Iowa. Here we go. Number 1 team on my list most likely to be unranked by the end of the year. It is Ole Miss, and here's the path for this. Okay, week 5, they got 4 snoozers to start the season, but week 5, they play Kentucky at home. Now, we know Jackson Dart, sneaky thick, but also very, very willing to put his head in the middle of a chopping block. Like, he loves getting hit really, really, really hard. I'm talking about like Deion Walker decapitates this man in the fourth quarter of a fist fight against Kentucky. I think that's plausible for all circumstances here, okay? It is very likely that Jackson Dart does something where he's not supposed to be putting himself at risk and gets hit really, really hard, shatters like glass. And then all of a sudden, you're on the road week 6 against South Carolina in Columbia, hotter than piss. You got either Austin Simmons, a redshirt freshman, I believe, or Luke Altmaier in his first career start on the road. Doesn't sound great. Let's chop that one up for an L as well. So now we got a loss against Kentucky because Jackson Dart was out in a fourth quarter fist fight. Now we got a loss in our first career start on the road. Guess what? Next week, we got to go to Baton Rouge. Not ideal. We drop an L there. Oklahoma, Georgia still on the schedule in this hypothetical. I could see a 7-5. I could see a 7-5 on the schedule. That's all I'm saying.
If they go 7-5, oh my gosh,
disaster.
That is
Lane Kiffin might not get
disaster.
the Florida job if they go 7-5.
Lane Kiffin getting that Florida job if he wants.
He goes 7-5.
Jackson Dart got hurt.
Lane Kiffin might not ever get another job if you turn 7-5 in with this roster.
Jackson Dart got hurt. It's excuses. Period. You get them all. It's all day, every day. Okay. Pass, free pass. Okay. It's like the opposite of a show cause order. You get to show the cause for you sucking in your last year at Ole Miss.
I think the bigger lock for a top 10 team to be unranked at the end of the year is Michigan, because you can kind of already find the losses on the schedule. Texas, you can find that's probably going to be a loss anyways.
We need clean drinking water, says Jay Will.
You ask a question, I'm going to answer the question correctly, okay?
Dude, it's Jay Will's night.
You ain't got to Stephen A. it.
It's been me the last 2 nights. It's your turn now, but
you're right.
You don't have to Stephen A. it every time, all right? So Texas, USC, I think Michigan ultimately ends up winning that game, but I think you could find a way for USC to lose that game. Maybe Washington sneaks up on them and hands them another L, so then you have 3 losses already, and then Oregon, Ohio State. That could be your 5 losses. So really the 4 losses that you can really find are Ohio State, Oregon, USC, and Texas, and then they just got to slip up one other time.
I like it. All right. I don't know why I'm saying this, but I think Georgia is no, I'm just kidding. I just wanted to rile the chat up. It's Notre Dame, and let me tell you how. So you open the season against Texas A&M. You lose that game. You're number 7 right now. You probably drop 4 or 5 spots. You're a top 11 team. You get to beat the shit out of NIU, sneak back into the top 12. Then you go to Purdue. At Purdue, where top 15 teams go to die. You suffer an embarrassing loss there. You are now 2-2 on the season. You're out of the top 20. You're probably hovering somewhere around 20, 25 in there. You rattle off 3 wins against Miami, Louisville, and Stanford. Nothing really to show for it. You kind of creep back up. You're a top 18 team now. You go to Atlanta as a 3-3 team and you lose to Georgia Tech, or you lose to Georgia Tech and now you're a 3-3 team. You close out the season 4-1 with a loss to Florida State. I think Notre Dame is not in the top 25 if you have that path, which I could honestly see happening. Because let's remember, the Notre Dame that always kind of just hung around and would win 10 or 11 games, that was Brian Kelly's Notre Dame. Marcus Freeman has not shown you he can do that yet. Marcus Freeman still got to get over, hey, we're not going to lose to Marshall this year. So I'm going to say that Notre Dame is probably one of the teams that could fall out of the top 25.
Mans believes more in Marcus Freeman's inability.
This is going to be a hairline joke. I already see it coming.
Mans believes more in the fact that Marcus Freeman is not using PEDs on his hairline than he does them not going 10-2 on this easy-ass schedule. That's crazy. That's crazy.
It's an easy schedule, but
it's an easy fact that he is obviously putting some PEDs on that hairline.
Maybe. Some paint, maybe. I don't know about plugs.
What do you got? Any more?
That was all. That was the only one I
could find any more.
I got one.
Yeah, I mean, it's
no,
you have another one? Florida State 7-5.
What if DJU just sucks? And oh, by the way, like we're sitting here like everyone shits on Clemson's weapons. Everyone does. Outside of Hakeem Williams, I dare anyone who is not a Florida State fan to tell me a single receiver that Florida State has.
You can literally hear crickets right now.
Like, bro, ain't nobody. Like, we talk all up and down about Clemson's inability to get open out on the edge. And can't nobody tell me a single Florida State wide receiver. Not one. So, there's a problem. And DJU is way worse than Cade Klubnik. We all know that because Cade Klubnik beat him out for his job. Everyone gives Clemson offense shit. No one is talking about Florida State. Give me the depth chart because I know you just looked at it.
Yeah, I did, because I knew there was one name I should know, and I didn't, but it was Malik Benson. That's what I was trying to think of. But, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I could see Florida State having a really, really unsuccessful season. I don't know if they'll fall out of the top 25.
I don't either. I don't necessarily believe that, but I could see it.
Florida State out here using tailbacks.
Interesting.
Those are the only three options, really, though, that we believe in.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
and we don't even really believe it. I think Florida State's easy 10-2.
Yeah, I mean, you have to have a pretty awful season by those. We probably need to find out what's the last top 10 team to not finish in the top 25. Clemson in 21, but they even snuck their way back in, didn't they?
I think so.
I just remembered who Malik Benson was. Malik Benson's got some of the most fire-ass JUCO tape I've ever seen. I thought Malik Benson was going to be Jameson Williams at Alabama.
So you think they're going to
win? Why did it not work at Alabama for him? Do we have any idea? It never happened.
Peasy says shaky hands.
Touch and go hands.
Shout out Peasy.
So they got a guy who wasn't a guy at Alabama.
Yeah,
they got a couple of those guys via the transfer portal this past offseason.
Quite a few programs have.
They got Florida State's got 3 of them.
Oh,
they took a nickel corner from Alabama that was a guy but wasn't a guy. They took offensive lineman that is a guy for them but wasn't a guy for Alabama, and now this other wide receiver. That's crazy. All right. That's it. Nailed it. That's it for the National Hour. We have a whole other hour coming up right now. We're going to be hammering out some local topics. Appreciate you guys. We'll see you over there.
Welcome into Talk the Dog, the show where we find a bone to pick and a take to give. These are not hot takes. These is dog takes. Can I talk that dog? What's up? Really like that. You really like that? Let's shut up and grab some tape.
You're a Georgia fan than me.
Huh? You think the chat thinks I'm a bigger Georgia fan than you are?
Yeah.
So the guy that played football at Shorter is a bigger Georgia fan than the guy that attends university?
Ask chat. I don't know. I get that vibe from them sometimes.
The new people that stumble upon us just assume all 3 of us are Georgia fans.
Yeah.
The people who have been here a while understand that I am just a football observer and you guys are the fans.
Correct.
So it all depends.
Who can give non-fan takes?
Yeah. That's true. You guys give real takes. You guys give unbiased takes.
Absolutely. It'd be boring if
every once in a while. Every once in a while, I'm like, ooh, homer take. But not that often, especially not from Kirby. Kirby likes to swerve. Kirby definitely likes to swerve. Welcome into the local hour. We have a positional preview, finally. We've been teasing this one for like 3 or 4 days. We're finally going to hit the positional preview at the running back position between Georgia and Clemson. We have one guarantee as the segment we're going to play tonight with you guys. Preseason awards are coming out tonight. We're going to play something called Map It Out, okay? I'm going to do this Map It Out segment every single week where we are going to get we're going to give you the biopsy, or give you the rundown, I guess is what I should say. We'll give you the rundown of how we think the football game is going to play out. A little early for this, but we're going to do it either way. And of course, we have a player of the day for you guys as well today. But first and foremost, I want to give a quick shout out to our friends over at Better. If you have not already, head over to Better today. They now offer college football props. Enter more than or less than key stats on college football players. You can play in 23 states now, including the fine state of Georgia. Better is matching first deposits up to $250 if you use promo code Brooks today, or click on the link in the description of this video. Shout out to our folks over at Better. If you have not already, head over there for what is going to be a loaded season with some of our sponsors on this here network. Great time to be here. Great time to be associated with the Film God Network. Great time to be watching. If you have not already, please hammer out that thumbs up button. Give us a like over there. And if you're watching us on Twitter, make sure you're tapping that screen, making those hearts fly. We appreciate you guys for choosing us. Know you got a lot of options over here on the internet nowadays with regards to content. We're glad you chose to make us your home for the evening. Appreciate you guys for being here. All right, let's do a positional preview, shall we?
Let's do it.
Finally, we've been teasing this one for a minute. All right. Now, I don't like to assume everyone watches everything that we do here, so I'm going to refresh how this segment works really quickly. I've always hated how people do the positional preview matchups, okay? They do the little graphic, and they give a check for Georgia's offensive line, and they don't give it for Clemson's. They give a check for Georgia's defensive line, but they don't give it for Clemson. They give a check for Clemson. You know what I'm saying. They go position by position, and they say, oh, Georgia's offensive line is better than Clemson's, and they give Georgia the check. As if those two units play each other. They do not. That's not how we do positional previews here on this channel. We do positional previews like normal human beings should. Smart football people should, which is, hey, how good is the running back room in a vacuum? Let's evaluate that first. And then, how good is the matchup for this running back room versus the matchup and the opponent that they are playing that individual week? That is how matchup positional previews should work. That's how we do them here on this channel. That's why you should listen to us and nobody else. Let's start with me, since the man's in the unit. He's back. We'll start with me either way. Okay? We'll start with me either way. Let's start with Georgia's running back room. I'm going to give them an A-. I think they have experience, okay? What they are lacking to be an A+ is proof of what the ceiling of this room can ultimately be, right? We think we know how good Trevor Etienne is in this conference. We think we know how good Branson Robinson is going to be when he's fully healthy. We think we know how good Roger Robinson is going to be if and when he's fully healthy. We think we know what Nate Frazier is going to add explosively to this offense as a true freshman, but we need proof of concept to make sure we 100% fully believe in this running back room at the University of Georgia. I'm going to go over to Clemson now. I'm going to give that room a B-. I think Phil Maffa is really, really good. I think he's a really good 20 to 25 carry serviceable collegiate back. If you give that guy 25 totes, he's going to have 110 yards. You're going to feel good about the performances he had that day. I'll be damned what your offensive line looks like. This running back is that big. He can tote the rock and get you serviceable production at the running back room if you give him the touches. The problem is they have a pretty drastic drop-off after him, and they don't really have a skill set duplication after him. Okay, it's Phil Maffa, massive bunch of gadget backs right after that, and I don't necessarily know how I vibe with that. Plus the offensive line as well adds into this equation to me because they open the holes for this running back room. On to the matchup. I'm going to give Georgia a C-. I think this is the best unit that they will play for the foreseeable future. I don't think Alabama presents this unit. I don't think Texas presents this unit. I think this is going to be the best front six that they play all year, particularly from a disruption standpoint. They are going to send a lot of bodies at this box. Okay, that's what I envision Clemson to do in this matchup. I'm going to give them a C. I'm also going to give a C- to Clemson's matchup. This will hands down be the best defensive front they play all year.
Yeah, you and me had pretty much the same overalls for both units. I gave Georgia's running back unit a flat A, just because I think this is the best Georgia fans have felt about a running back room since you had Nick Chubb, Sonny Michel, and DeAndre Swift. Like, it's not probably going to be up to that echelon. Nothing ever will be again.
You think this is going to be better than Swift and Cook? Did those two overlap?
No, those didn't overlap.
You think it's going to be better than Zamir and Cook?
You had Swift and Holyfield. Maybe Swift and Holyfield's the best you felt since then, but even that's right after 2017. So, I mean, it's the best you felt about the room in at least 5 years. So the excitement there, I'm giving it an A. For Clemson, I gave them a B- as well. Phil Maffa is a very, very good running back, like you said, but that's about it. I think they've got a redshirt freshman behind that, a redshirt sophomore, and then a true freshman. So it's like, it's Phil Maffa, and that's kind of the only one you have in the room who's going to really pop. Now, they might have someone that stands out, but as of now, it's a B- for me.
I went with A- for Georgia for similar reasons like you, and that's an A- right now. I think that room has potential as the season progresses. Like once we know Branson Robinson is like fully back, like that dude feels comfortable. That dude looks like he did his freshman year, but even better potentially. I think this room definitely has the ability to grow and get better this year, which is why I put him in an A-. Still a really good group of running backs, still got depth, but despite being a little bit banged up. So I think they have a good all-around group heading into this football game. Clemson, I went a B because I think having one back and having Phil Maffa is enough in college football to you to have a sustainable and solid run game. And I think Phil Maffa gives them the B in this scenario. I think that he's good enough for that.
Mil Maffa.
Did I say Mil Maffa?
Elite rapper name though.
Mil Maffa.
Mil Maffa.
Phil Maffa is what I meant.
Phil Maffa. Do you know the high school Phil Maffa attended?
Oh,
I've heard it before. I don't remember.
State of Georgia.
Yeah, I knew he came from Georgia.
Gwinnett County.
that doesn't really narrow it down.
Where?
Grayson.
I knew that.
Really, and tore his knee up senior year, but junior year, man, impossible to tackle. I can't remember who I compared him to coming out of high school, but he was 230 pounds in high school. And you could just imagine what he would do to senior or high school defensive backs. It was not fun to watch for those young men trying to tackle him.
We haven't done matchups then.
No, what were you asking?
I was going to say for matchups.
Go ahead, give me the matchup.
Matchup, I gave Georgia a C+ on this. I think that you don't really want to run into a really solid front seven your first week college football, and Clemson's going to be one of the better top 3 you play this season at least. So they're eventually going to wear down on them. You're going to see a lot of big plays from this running back group, but I think that it's not a good pull in week 1. And for Clemson, I put up a D-. Like, this is the best front seven you're going to play. Georgia's always got a good defense. The reason they have good defense is because they control the line of scrimmage 90% of the time. So if you're Clemson, this is not a good matchup for you at all.
I went B for Georgia because I think that the offensive line is too good, and I think that all around, like, Georgia has always, like, the run game has never absolutely just sucked in a game that I can really remember in quite some time. It may not be great, it may not be, up there with one of the better years where you've had running backs, but like I feel like it's never just absolutely sucked in a football game. So I gave him a B. Like, I don't think it's going to overshadow anything in this football game, but I think it's going to be good enough to where you can stay ahead of the sticks and they can continue to go back to it and they can't get shut down. What are you smirking about? Because you're about to prove me wrong?
No, I'm about to ask. What do you think their worst rushing performance was all year last year?
Georgia's?
Mm-hmm. 5,
Auburn?
4, 3, no, 2,
SEC
1.
championship?
Yep, Alabama. 31 rushes, 78 yards, 2.5 yards a carry, 3 touchdowns.
Yuck.
And
how many times
if you take off, though? Here's the worst part. If you take off the 27-yard touchdown run from Kendall Milton, that looks really bad.
How many
really
sacks did Beck have?
I don't think he was sacked that many times in that football game.
That's not good.
Bad. Do you know what the second worst rushing performance all year was last year? You'll never get this one. You can see here all day.
Okay.
I'm going to go Arkansas State.
Ball State.
I knew it was one of those.
They didn't play Arkansas State.
I knew it was an early... That's not what I was thinking. It was when Rod Robb and Cash Jones started. 28
totes for 99 yards, so 3.5 yards per carry.
Yeah.
The other worst game was Auburn, 106 yards.
Yeah, so I think Georgia has too many options in the backfield. I think the offensive line is too good for them to just absolutely get clogged up and suck in the run game against Clemson. So I just went with a flat B. I went with a C- though for Clemson. I think that Georgia's ability to go sideline to sideline with the linebackers, I think their edge players are way too good to allow them to get outside, contain, and kind of break it upfield. If anything, maybe you can attack them somewhat up the middle, but even then, I just don't see a formula for Clemson to be able to run the football successfully, and I just think the offensive line is a little too porous.
Defensively, don't you think Clemson's going to have to dedicate to take one thing away? They're either going to have to dedicate bodies to the box to make Georgia throw over them, or they're going to have to say, all right, we'll just give you the run. They're not going to be able to try to take both away.
No.
I think and based off the spring footage and based off everything I know about them historically, defensively, they're going to dictate. They're not going to sit back on their heels. They're going to provide pressure more than anything.
You're probably going to see a 6-man box, and they're going to bring 5 very consistently with maybe some 6-man blitzes sprinkled in on third down. And I would imagine that's going to be, we're going to try to take the run away and make Carson Beck beat us with good decision making in week 1. That's what I think you're going to see.
All right, should we move on to one guarantee?
Let's hear it.
All right, let's go one guarantee. So here's how this is going to happen. How do you explain this segment?
Basically, if I could give you one guarantee outside of outcome of games, because then obviously, what's the one guarantee if I could tell you at the start of the season, you get to pick one, what is it?
All right, I got 3.
You get 1.
I get 3.
No.
Well, I get 3.
There's no OLIs or
OLIs. No.
There's OLIs for me. Y'all can go first.
He always does this, man.
He always does this. Yeah, he does.
My one guarantee for Georgia is they're top 5 against the run this year defensively. And I think that is, if Georgia is able to accomplish that in a season, if they do it this year specifically, like, you're golden everywhere else.
See, I did this totally differently. I gave you 3. If you guarantee me this, Georgia wins a title. That's how I did this.
I think that this would almost in my opinion, that does. I think that is one of the biggest, because I think that's, everything else is kind of, it's going to figure itself out. Like the passing game is going to be completely fine. The running back room is great. The offensive line room is great. You have necessary weapons to have a good passing attack. Tight ends. If the defensive line is that good to where no team can run the ball on you, your secondary is already loaded down with talent as well. Malachi Starks, and you have a position battle in your secondary, but you have a lot of good options that you can throw out there where you're going to be fine no matter who is named the starter. If they can shut down a run game and just force teams to have to try and beat them through the air, I think Georgia basically becomes almost unstoppable in that sense.
I went with a similar, one of my 3 was a similar defensive guarantee. If you guarantee me Michael Williams and Tyrion Ingram-Dawkins combined for north of 16 sacks, I think Georgia wins a national title.
That's a good one. I did +2 in the turnover battle every game.
Oh, shit. I mean, god dang, of course.
You win the turnover battle.
If you can guarantee me Georgia wins by 21 points in every game, I can guarantee you they win every game.
Don't lump me in with Captain Easy stance there.
I mean, saying they win every game's turnover margin by 2 is like, yeah, they better fucking win every game.
Georgia scores 100 points every game. That's mine. That's my new one.
Damn it.
If you can guarantee me Dylan Bell has 1,000 yards in the regular season, they go undefeated.
Really?
Yeah.
1,000.
They would be so explosive. If he has 1,000 yards in 12 games, they would be so hard to defend that, yeah, they're undefeated. They would be... I don't think they walk through those 3 road games, but those 3 road games are considerably made easier if you can guarantee me. That's basically 100 yards out of Dylan Bell right off rip.
Yeah.
It's 80, but it's, that's a lot of production.
If Georgia's top 5 in explosives, I think they win a national title offensively.
Yeah, that's fair.
I like that one.
Everyone but Tennessee has confirmed that in years past. And that was due in large part to injury and the running out of fireworks in Columbia, South Carolina.
Yes, it was.
If you can guarantee me turnover-free Carson Beck on the road, Georgia goes undefeated this year. He doesn't have to be perfect at home, but if he's turnover-free on the road this year, they walk through
no big-time momentum switches.
Can't give up possessions on the road.
I like that one.
I like that one, too. I'm just trying to think of some off the top of my head now that wouldn't get me cooked.
If you can guarantee me Carson Beck throws for 7,000 yards.
Not what I meant by this segment, but...
If you can guarantee me every opponent's bus breaks down on the way to the game.
You think that would do it?
I think that might do it. I think that might do it.
Game's still got to be played eventually.
He's still got to play them.
They'll postpone it.
Should we get to preseason awards?
Let's do it.
All right, preseason awards. Here it goes. We have 5 categories. Okay, we got MVP, Defensive Player of the Year, Offensive Player of the Year, Most Improved Player, and Coach of the Year is our final category. Where do we want to start, boys?
I thought it was Comeback Player of the Year.
No, it's Coach of the Year. COP.
We'll do Comeback Player of the Year too.
Okay.
Well, I think. Well, look.
How would you get Comeback Player of the Year out of COY? COY. Coach of
Comeback
the Year.
of the Year.
Okay.
Let's do Comeback.
And he was talking about it.
Let's do Comeback Player of the Year because I originally thought. Let's do it on 3. We all know who it is. 1, 2, 3. Branson Robinson.
I didn't put him.
Who are you?
Who'd you put? TID.
Okay. Tyrion Ingram-Dawkins.
Yeah.
Valid call.
I like Tyrion.
All right. Comeback Player of the Year. Done. Let's go Coach of the Year.
Man.
Coach of the Year. Who do you got?
I think Todd Hartley has a very, very good chance to really cement himself as one of the best position coaches in college football, because obviously you had Brock Bowers, you had Darnell Washington, you've had elite talent, and you still have elite talent in this room. But if the tight ends for Georgia can be another dominant force where people go, holy shit, Georgia's tight end room doesn't seem like it had that much of a drop off after losing Brock Bowers, Todd Hartley will absolutely cement himself as one of the better position coaches, if not the best.
Shadira Uzo-Duribe is the answer.
I was about to say him, and I just thought about it.
Uzo-Duribe is the answer. This edge room is so deep. Michael Williams is going to they're going to accredit Michael Williams' growth in large part to Uzo, and it has very little to do to Uzo. Also has very little to do with Trey Scott. It has a lot to do with Michael Williams. But Uzo is going to get a lot of love this season.
I have a caveat though. If Georgia has a 1,000-yard receiver, it's Coley. Which, I mean,
yeah, I like the Uzo pick.
Yeah,
that's who I would have went with.
Whoever.
Coley's a good shout, man. There's been good returns on Coley already.
Mm-hmm.
Like every he got a lot of shit because of what happened as an offensive coordinator, but there's no doubt this guy is a really, really good wide receiver coach.
I mean, every single one of the newcomers on the coaching staff has an opportunity to earn this, right? I mean, Josh Crawford could do it with the running back room. Coley, obviously, with the wide receivers. T-Rob in the secondary. Dante Williams in the secondary as well. Like, every single one of these newcomers has a right to where you could really earn the love of the fan base.
Who's born most on third base of all these new coaches?
Ooh.
It's not Coley.
T-Rob, maybe?
It's either Josh Crawford or the secondary.
T-Rob, maybe?
It's T-Rob.
It's T-Rob because you get Malachi Starks.
And KJ.
Yeah.
Yeah, as a freshman.
Malachi Starks.
And Ellis Robinson as another freshman.
Well, that's Dante's room.
T-Rob's
I just mean secondary in general.
Solid player in Dan Jackson. You got a guy who's SEC experience in Jake Pope.
And, oh, by the way, you're going to a defensive system that you kind of already know.
Yeah.
So there's no real transition for you. It's definitely T-Rob.
Yeah,
that's an easy answer. Did you have a candidate for Coach of the Year? It was Uzo?
I was going to go with Uzo.
Okay. I'm with you. All right. We're going up in reverse order on my list. Most improved player in 2024.
I put
Who is
two
it?
up for this.
I got three candidates.
You go first.
Guys, I put one. What do we do with all this two?
Dude, he keeps going with the OLIs. You got to have a back pocket one.
No, man,
I've learned this about
down.
him.
You got to keep it in the back pocket.
You got to keep it back pocket unless you literally name
I'm going before you because one of those three names is probably going to be mine.
Go first.
All right, let's go.
Go first, Jake.
Warren Brinson.
Wrong.
No, I don't have
Okay,
one. It's not wrong. He's not wrong.
Wrong. But it's not mine.
Bad take. Bad guess.
Not mine. Wrong.
Warren Brinson, and the way he can be the most improved is if he is the disruptor that he has the potential to be. And
He's got to finish.
If he finishes, if he finishes in the backfield, if he gets those guys down behind the line of scrimmage, Warren Brinson is gonna shoot up the ranks, and he's gonna be. I think he would be considered one of the most
Chris
improved
Berman
players.
impression.
Who needs a soundboard?
We would get nothing done if we had a soundboard over here. I put Dalen Everett.
Yeah,
because
I did too.
For as much flack as he got last season, I don't think he was a
Johnny
bad player.
Common fan.
Yeah.
Is going to think dude just had the greatest offseason ever.
Yeah. Captain Easy stance is to be, wow, Dalen Everett really had a good offseason.
Yeah.
But no, it's going to be Dalen Everett just because I think you're going to see a 180 on the fan base where last year was, oh, Dalen Everett sucks. He gets cooked every play to now it's, wow, Dalen Everett's one of our best corners. I think he's going to be the most improved player by proxy of what the fan base says about him.
Yeah, I put him down on the list. How about Oscar Delp? Oscar Delp, an opportunity. Like if Oscar Delp and Carson, if Oscar and Carson connect on 3 or 4 of those passes last year that were deep balls, like this is a totally different discussion coming into this year. I think they ultimately do that. Like if Oscar has a 650, 700 yard season this year, everybody's going to be talking about him as like one of the best tight ends in the country. And that's a totally different discussion than where he's at currently. So he would certainly qualify. How about Damon Wilson?
Okay.
I think Damon Wilson's got an opportunity for a real breakout season. I don't know if he's most improved because he doesn't really have a baseline from last year as a true freshman. So maybe he's more of a breakout candidate, but certainly has already improved just in physical stature this past offseason.
I have another one that I didn't think of. I thought you were going to put it on there. Dom Lovett. Dom Lovett could have Dom Lovett is a 700, 800 yard season away, maybe 1,000 yard season away from people going, holy shit, where was this in 2023? Because, I mean, when he came to Georgia out of the transfer portal, we were kind of expecting a really big season. He had a good year, but if he follows it up with what he could show or what he showed in that spring game, Dom Lovett could be most improved player on the offense.
I think Jalen Walker has potential to do this based on what we've heard in the press conference of how this might be the first season where he plays free and he's not thinking. I think he could explode and be the most improved player on that defense, be a true difference maker.
Offensive player of the year. Who do you got, boys? I got 3 potential candidates.
Okay.
I'm going to put Carson back on this list. Yeah, see, I'm telling you, you gotta have a back pocket one, dude.
I don't, man.
I'm going Carson Beck on this
put.
for obvious reasons because he is the quarterback. He has the potential to have the greatest season any quarterback has had at the University of Georgia. Could be the Heisman winner. I mean, the offense is going to, for the most part, run through what he is able to do as a passer. So, Carson Beck is the offensive player of the year.
What if I told you Trevor Etienne has 1,500 all-purpose yards?
Then he would probably be a better
like over 1,000 rushing yards. You know, maybe like 1,050 and 450 passing yards.
1,000 rushing yards with this rotation is a Heisman candidacy, I think.
You think so?
Yeah, 1,000 rushing yards and then 500
I'm talking
on
about
top.
14 games in, 15 games in. End of season total line.
Okay, then yeah, but no,
It's still almost 100 yards a game.
I think too, like Etienne has the potential this year to just be like, not a breath of fresh air in the sense of, oh my gosh, Georgia's never had a good running back, but man, we haven't had this. I forgot what this feels like to have somebody with this type of juice in our backfield, and I think that his fans are gonna fall in love with him because he is going to bring that to the offense this year, and he's gonna carry the load for that running back room. I think that he has the potential to just win everybody over, and people are going to say, man, he was the offensive player of the year.
He certainly bolstered the room. How about Dylan Bell?
I'm saving my Dylan Bell.
Okay.
That's
saving
all
your Dylan Bell.
I'm going to say.
How about Dylan Fairchild?
Okay.
I think Dylan Fairchild's going to have me out here on that board going nuts this year. I think we're going to be watching film this year where I'm like, whoa! The fuck did 54 just do?
From a film room standpoint, he absolutely has the opportunity to do this, but when you like production-wise, it's just not going to be like you're not going to have offensive line.
He'll win it on Sundays. The Sunday film sessions. That's when he's going to win it.
He'll be my offensive player of the year.
I like it.
He's a my guy. All right, on to defensive player of the year. This one should be easy, even though I have.
It could be.
Actually, this is my only category where I have one suggestion.
Well, what's your one suggestion?
It's C.J. Allen.
That's what I put.
It's C.J. Allen. I think C.J. Allen's got an opportunity to be the first defensive player with north of 80 tackles since this player. I already did this to you guys. Let's see if the chat figures this out. Last Georgia football player to have more than 80 tackles in a single season. Go.
Jake Gaines.
Jake Gaines did have over it.
Jake Gaines was that dog.
Jake Gaines was cooking in 2015, buddy.
It is Monty Rice in 2019. He had 89 tackles. N'Kobe Dean never had 80-plus tackles.
Nobody got it.
N'Kobe Dean, I don't think ever led the team in tackles. Maybe 1 year.
Well, I mean,
I don't think he ever did.
To be fair, N'Kobe Dean also was playing with first rounders.
He was playing with first rounder and Quay Walker.
People were getting stuffed at the defensive line before he came.
Correct.
You got Jordan Davis and Devontae White. It's not going to get to N'Kobe Dean a lot.
Do you know how many tackles Roquan Smith had in 2017?
It's got to be like 115.
115 would be a decent guess.
Yeah, I was going to say like 120.
If he only played 9 games. He had 139 tackles in 2017. God. Roquan Smith had 85 solos in 2017. To this day, it would be the most tackles by anybody in a single season since him in 2017.
Off solos alone.
Off solos alone.
That's insane.
Holy shit.
He was nuts. He was nuts.
One day,
he averaged 10 tackles a game. Averaged. Rolled out of bed with a double-digit performance.
One of these off seasons, we just need to dedicate an entire hour to Roquan Smith's stats, film, like moments, like everything, because it constantly creates moments like that where you almost forget.
Bro, it's like Gretzky in the hockey record books. It's like Jerry Rice in the receiver record books.
You can hear it 15 times, and every time it's going to get the same reaction.
Roquan, an entire labyrinth of space. The next person.
I do think there is an alternate reality where Smile Mondan kind of earns this. He's a veteran guy in that group. He's going to be fully healthy this year, we'd have to presume. He battled a foot injury through most of last year that didn't necessarily seem to hinder his play that much. If you have a fully healthy Smile Mondan who is as experienced as he is now, he could be the one who makes the most plays this year.
Would you say that maybe not this is the right phrasing, but I was going to ask, like, would you say that Smile maybe has like the most to earn this season?
Yeah, I mean, he's a good season away from being a first round.
There's a lot of names on the defense that certainly can increase their draft stock this season, but I think Smile's in that conversation of like that dude could really push his stock up a good bit.
The season Smile Monin has is going to determine whether he's a 3rd round pick or whether he's a top 25 pick in the NFL draft. Because he's got the build of it.
You know what I'm grinning about.
What?
Chat just said we should spend the night watching nothing but Roquan Smith tape. Looky what I got. That's 2017 Georgia All 22. We might have to crack that out open on over on patreon.com/Brooks Austin.
That
might be a Patreon sub study only over there. Just watch that guy be a freak. I think we've already done that once.
We did one for I think
we've already done it once, but you can never watch that guy enough. I mean, holy hell. Mm-hmm. We would watch it right now, but I think all of YouTube would just shut down. Do it now. Maybe. Dark arts. Exos already on our ass.
President of YouTube would be banging on this.
Yeah, it's not our problem. It's the fact that we're just so good at it. I think, it's the reason we get flagged. If we break out all 22 right now, stream immediately shut down. Immediately. I think the ops just watch us a little too closely. Everyone good on CJ Allen, Defensive Player of the Year?
Yeah, no push.
No Malachi Starks suggestions. No Michael suggestions.
I don't think I talked about this earlier. I don't think Malachi Starks is going to get the opportunity to be a Defensive Player of the Year.
Okay.
Because they are not going to run to him. They're not going to throw at him. They're not going to throw at him. So what's left for him? He has to go out and make the plays. I'm just saying he's more than capable of doing, but he's not going to have as many opportunities to do so.
He could almost be put in that category with Dylan Fairchild of go back and watch the tape and you'll find out how valuable Malachi Starks was this season.
All right, most valuable player this year. Who is it?
Carson Beck.
Okay.
Carson Beck is a Captain Easy stance.
Yeah, exactly. So he's a definition of most valuable.
You know what, Kirby? There is a lot of trash in the ocean. I think we need to get rid of that.
Someone should do something about all the trash in the ocean.
I really do think my grocery bill's a little high.
Yeah.
I'll probably bring that down a little bit.
I wish I had lower taxes.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
Look, dude. It was me on Monday.
It was you on Monday and Tuesday.
It's your turn.
Ask any flipping Georgia fan right now.
It's your turn now.
The guy that is the Heisman favorite, the guy that is projected to be the number 1 overall pick next year. I don't care if it's an easy stance. It's the right pick.
Knowing someone would say Carson Beck, I said it's Dylan Bell.
Yeah.
Watching the wide receiver documentary on Netflix made me realize how valuable a versatile player is, such as Deebo Samuel, to an offense, where if you don't have that player available, the formations that you run in, the schemes that you have, how does it feel knowing that your take is taken?
How'd we miss World Hunger? We gotta stop world hunger, dude.
Jay, what's your thoughts on world hunger?
It's really bad. We should do something about that.
Of course you would say that. Bro.
It should be Carson. It could be Dylan Bell. It's really Colby Young. If Colby Young doesn't become an X, Dylan Bell doesn't become what Dylan Bell's supposed to be. The most important player, most valuable performance this season is going to be from Colby Young developing into the true fire X that this offense needs. That's the real take. No jokes, no saving the whales, dead ass. Colby Young, the moment he becomes a true X, this offense takes off.
I like that.
If you see a turtle going across the street, do you help him?
I'm just thinking of that old comedian bit where the guy's talking about bringing food to the desert.
Oh, it's Sam Kinison.
You live in the desert. Get out of the desert.
It's Sam Kinison.
You can't grow food here. You see, this is sand. So good.
Sam Kinison, very loud.
Yeah.
Should we map it out? I like this segment.
Do you want to say that for last, or do you want to?
Where do you want to go next?
I think film should be last.
I think film should be last.
It's always a good closer.
We should go to map it out, and then we'll drag out film as much as we can. Maybe we sneak that. Maybe we sneak that Roquan film. Just pull up Roquan, Georgia Tech. Watch it. You only play.
Don't tell anybody.
Don't tell anybody.
Just put it up there and not even say.
Don't watch it.
Just don't say a word. We'll just watch it.
Just watch.
Just watch it.
The podcast listeners are like, "Why is it quiet? What's going on?"
Doesn't do it. J-Lo must have fucked up the download. All right, here's how Map It Out is going to work. We are going to walk through how the football game is going to be played out in that opening football game, August 31st against Clemson, a noon start. So that ought to be fun. All right, here's how it's going to go. First possession, Clemson will score because of two explosives, okay? One will be Antonio Williams, some type of deep shot in the slot. The other one will be some type of trickeration-based explosive, whether it's a sneaky screen, whether it's a throwback, whether it's an end around, whether it's whatever it is. is, it will be a Lincoln Riley-esque, Garrett Riley-esque, trickeration-based explosive. That will happen in the first possession. They will have some type of plan to open this football game, to walk the ball quickly down the field to score early in this football game. Then at that moment, I promise you, Georgia's defense will settle in as they usually do. Georgia's offense will start slow as they usually do. Likely will settle for some type of field goal early on in this football game. I'm seeing 7-3 in Clemson's favor, with Georgia having the ball as the first quarter ends. That's what I'm seeing. I'm seeing we go to the end of the first quarter. Georgia's got the ball at the 35-yard line headed in, and it's 7-3, and everybody's like, oh, look, Clemson off to a hot start. That's about it. By the end of the first half, I got Georgia up 20-7 in this football game. The third quarter will be very much of the same. That's going to happen right there in the second quarter. But Clemson's defense will keep them in this game to an extent within a couple of scores. Okay, another explosive laden drive from Clemson will be the other score in this football game. I got a final score of 34-14 in Georgia's favor. Georgia leans heavily on an explosive passing attack and short fields provided by their defense. Clemson struggles to put up 350 total yards in this football game. Georgia throws for over 320.
I went very similar. I don't have Clemson striking first on this. I have it's going to look similar to that 2021 game where it was just like, man, it's two defenses that do not want to give an inch. You got two offenses that are trying to seem to fill each other out. I think Georgia's going to kind of struggle in the first quarter to get something going on offense. You're going to have a 3-or out or so. People are going to go like, what's going on? I thought this offense was supposed to be great. I don't see Clemson moving the ball with great success. Maybe they get a turnover. Maybe they get a good field position, early field goal. This very much feels to me like it's going to be a 10-7 game at halftime where everyone's looking around like, what's going on? We should be beating the shit out of these guys.
Well, Arkansas 2020 action?
Yeah, Discord's going to look very, very interesting. People are going to be freaking out. And then Georgia's going to come out, and their physicality and all of that is going to lean on Clemson. They're going to dominate the second half, particularly in the third quarter. And I think you're going to have explosive plays with Carson Beck. He's finally going to settle in, read the defenses better. I see Georgia winning this game in like a 31-13 thing. I think Vegas has the total at 48 right now. So I think Georgia will pull away at the end. There's going to be frustrations at the start because keep in mind, it's week 1 against a talented front seven. So that's what I see happening.
You like that?
What's going on here?
Jay Will's engaging with the chat.
Someone asked me when they thought Chaz Chambliss was going to take over, and I said Chaz Chambliss took over when he was birthed. He just took over the world. It was his at that moment. I went the antithesis of you guys for this.
Before what would be a good bit, and this is ruin
I'm sitting here running through Chuck Norris jokes to lay down.
Ruin our
love that.
Ruin our.
I love those.
This would ruin our credibility. But if say we get a media availability post game and Chad Chambliss is there, have one of me or Jay will just be like, so Chaz, just sit there for like 30 seconds, just like
what we wanted to do with you and Aaron Murray.
Yes.
Should I tell the chat about that?
Yes. It's too late.
So when we first booked Murray, I was wanting to make a bit where, if you've ever seen the Chris Farley segment where Chris Farley sits down with like Tom Cruise and he's like, hey man, so remember that time in Top Gun you flew on that plane? That was really cool. I wanted Kirby to do that with like, hey man, remember that time you like dove for a touchdown against Auburn and your knee exploded? That was kind of cool. But we didn't end up doing it. It would be kind of fun if we did this with Chaz. Like, so Chaz, what do you suggest for people who are afraid of the dark?
Like I drop
those tattoos are really cool. Can you tell me about them?
Did they hurt?
Something like that.
How do you see it playing out, J-Will?
I would the antithesis of you guys. I think Georgia's answers first drive of the football game for them. I think Bobo scripts up a masterpiece for this first drive of the season.
Dial it up.
I think that he just dials it up for the first drive. Georgia gets on the board first, 7 on the board for Georgia. And then I think the game kind of goes into a lull for a little bit. I think Clemson is struggling to find a groove. Georgia's having some issues with Clemson's defense after the first drive. I think you can throw in a couple of field goals for Clemson at this point. Clemson matches by finally getting on the board. And then, but to close at halftime, Georgia breaks it open again. They score again. I think this is like a 17-6 game going into halftime. And then I think second half, Clemson has a quick 3-and-out. Kirby and the defense made some adjustments at halftime to where they kind of figured out where maybe the small leaks were happening, and they absolutely close them off. And so Clemson has a quick 3-and-out to open up the second half. and then it just starts falling apart piece by piece. And I think that they just continue to struggle. Georgia finds a consistent groove on offense. Carson Beck and the receivers are finding their chemistry throughout. The running backs are kind of getting they've gotten the nerves out a little bit, and they're finding their gaps. I think this game ends with a second half that is just dominated by Georgia. They're the only ones really making anything happen in the second half, and it's a 31-13 ball game.
See, what you don't know and what people don't report is the fact that Chaz Chambliss has a microphone where he criticizes Kirby Smart during practice.
That would be pretty funny.
That's real. I'm telling you the real. That's real reporting.
Oh.
Yeah. He calls Kirby Elmo soft in the middle of practice. You said, what was the final score over there?
31-13.
I just had to get in with another Chaz Chambliss joke.
Same as what I said.
So no one thinks this. Everyone thinks Georgia covers here?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's it at, 14.5 right now?
Yeah, it's at 14.5 right now. I could see a world where Georgia doesn't cover in this game. I think that the 2022 Oregon game did a big disservice to fans where they feel like whatever week one matchup we play, we're just going to beat the shit out of teams. Like, that Oregon game was such an impressive example of football. I don't think it's going to always be like that.
No.
I don't think it's going to be like that this year. I think you're a better team than Clemson. I think you're 2 touchdowns better than Clemson. But I think it's going to take time to feel them out as a solid front seven, and I think it's going to take a minute before you actually start to get on top of them.
I think the best thing about Georgia this year, and I'm shocked it hasn't really been something that we've talked about yet, is there's so many players on this roster for Georgia that are just playing free this year. That aren't going to be holding it. Like Carson Beck is going to be playing free this year. Dominic Lovett kind of has his feel this year where any type of shackle that he had last year of getting into the offense, being introduced to a new football team, he's going to be playing free with the wide receivers. I mean, defense, Michael Williams is going to feel this way as well. Jalen Walker might be this. Malachi Stark
C.J. Allen's going to feel this.
C.J. Allen. There are so many football players for Georgia that are stepping into this next year where it's just full on go. There's no concerns.
You know how slow the game's going to feel to C.J. Allen this year? It's going to feel like he was playing a different version of football last year.
That's a good one.
Delp will be playing free and confident this year.
There's so many of them this year.
Not having to worry about living up to the superstar that's in front of him.
It's him.
He's him. He's the guy. Some information coming out about Nick Brooks. Nick Brooks just announced that he's going to set a commitment date. I think he already did within 2 weeks.
23rd, I think.
23rd, so within 9 days. Final 3 were Texas, Georgia,
USC.
And USC. You and I both had the same response. Don't love those 2 competing teams for Georgia's instances there.
Yeah.
Also, I don't know if you guys remember, perhaps the chat does as they start to call him Neck Brooks. I think the very first thing I said when everybody was asking me about projecting classes was Nick Brooks doesn't know how much money Nick Brooks is about to get thrown at him. Nick Brooks is one of these last whales left remaining, okay? He's one of the last, like, borderline 5-star, guarantees, it feels like, at the tackle position in this class. He's going to be heavily sought after with regards to NIL, and Texas seems like they're in the lead here for this one. So
checks out.
It does check out. Checks out with the initial reporting. Also checks out with what Texas is doing right now under Sarkisian. They have made it a serious push to invest at the lines of scrimmage since he has gotten there. Let's do this just in case segment that we put down before we get into the film of the day and the player of the day. 5 things that Texas and Oklahoma need to know about the SEC as they enter it this season. I will go first. Number 5, ABC. Always be recruiting. More importantly in this conference than any other in the country, okay? You do not win this conference without a top 5, top 10 class. You just don't do it. And I'm talking about recruiting year in, year out, top 5, top 10. That's what you have to do historically to win this conference. This is more so a Jimmy and Joe's conference than any other conference in college football. Rule number 4, protect your cell phone number, okay? Because these fan bases will get it. They will call you all night long. They will have you scoring touchdowns against your beloved rival Tennessee and hitting them up with that dial me up, okay? You need to protect that cell phone. You need to protect what hotel you're staying in. You need to protect everything with regards to private information about your football team in this conferences. Fan bases are crazy. Protect your trees as well from any type of poison.
Don't use team phones either.
Yeah, don't use team phones either. Just avoid phones, okay? If you're doing illegal shit, Hugh Freeze, Use the burner. You learned your lesson. That's good stuff. Rule number 3, bring your own locker room on the road. Okay? As much money as these teams have spent on stadium renovations and locker rooms. Hell, I think a couple years ago, LSU spent $52 million on a brand new football locker room. Okay? The road visitor locker room is not that. I'm pretty sure Tennessee just has an old urinal stall as a away locker room. Okay, Auburn's got an old conference room that smells like armpit. All right, the away team has to bring their own urinals. Okay, it's like that out there at Auburn. All right, at Georgia, you might as well be down in the sewage tunnel of Sanford Stadium.
I've been in it. It's a high school locker room.
It's crazy. Bring your own locker room on the road. Be prepared to be dressed and getting dressed next to your Brody. All right, and 90 deep, 85 deep in a horse carriage stall. It feels like. Rule number 2: loudspeakers in the indoor. All right, you need to crank them some bitches up to the umph degree. The only way you're going to prepare for road games on this schedule in this conference is to make sure your indoor loudspeaker is louder than your road game environments. And it means you better have a loud one, okay? You better just be having guys' ears ringing in the middle of their math 10-10 class, okay? It needs to be inundated, the crowd noise that they need to be prepared for. And rule number 1, pardon my language, beef it the fuck up. Offensive, defensive line, big bodies, 3 deep. I'm not talking about 2 deep. I'm not talking about a good starting 5. 3 deep, beef it up. You need to be big. And keep the speed. That's the thing. You got to be big, but you still got to be athletic in this conference.
Big and fast. I like it.
I can go next. It really does mean more. I know it's a cliche to a bunch of other people. And
by the way, sorry, I'm not cutting you off a lot tonight. Jay Will wrote a tremendous article for our South Carolina site this week about this. And if you haven't read it, you need to go
read it.
Amen. But yeah, number 1, it really does mean more. It might be a cliche phrase to some, but I think it actually does. Like, the rivalries are taken to another level. If you plan a fall wedding, don't expect a whole lot of people to show up or be paying attention to your wedding, because they do believe that college football game, even if it is against a 4-8 football team, that it is more important than whatever they have to do that Saturday. So it really does mean more in the South. It is a different type of element to these fan bases. Number 2, avoid Death Valley at night by all causes. Like, just don't do it. That's the one thing you don't want to do. There's a lot of great environments, like you were mentioning in your list, but Death Valley at night, there's just something about it where if you walk in there, there's a very, very good chance that you're not walking out of there with a dub. Keeping on that stance, Jordan-Hare voodoo magic is real. It is so real, and if you need to know anything about it, just ask a Georgia fan or an Alabama fan. I give a whole lot of reasons why. Of course, the prayer, Jordan-Hare, the kick six, those are 2 great examples. But let me put it this way. Auburn hasn't beaten Georgia in Athens since 2007, and of the 3 times they have beaten Georgia since then, they've all been at Jordan-Hare. Is it a coincidence? I don't think so.
I think not, Johnny.
I think not. Number 4, yeah, they actually bark. Georgia fans are going to bark in your face, not just at football games. If you just happen to pass by one on the sidewalk on a random Tuesday at any point in the year, they're going to bark at you, and they're going to do it with a straight face, and they take pride in it.
Unless it's Matthew Stafford.
Yeah, that was interesting. That was a little disappointing.
Wasn't it? Like, I get made to feel uncomfortable when people hit me with the Go Dogs. Not gonna lie to you, because I think they expect me to say, "Oh yeah, go Dogs!" right back at them. I just hit them with a "How about them?" real quick. How about them? And then just go on with my day. It
wasn't just the bark,
but you got to at least acknowledge something. You
got to say "Go Dogs."
Just give them the head nods. Just yeah. Come on, take the man's degree away from me. Makes me uncomfortable. What? It's like, bro, you've been in locker rooms with naked dudes for the last 25 years. What you talking about uncomfortable? Go Dogs makes you uncomfortable?
I think he said the barking in particular makes him uncomfortable, but it's also like...
Next time you see Matt Stafford, you get on all fours and you bark your head off.
Yeah, he just opened the door for him to get barked at more than ever now.
Yeah, he did.
What a fool.
Yeah.
What a fool.
Number 4, they actually do bark. It is a real thing. And then number 5, you kind of touched on this as well. The SEC football truly is different than anything else. I mean, it is the cream of the crop of high school prospects in the entire United States. There are so many great players that come from these pipelines. They end up at SEC schools. There are just better players. There are faster players. And if you don't believe me, if you sit there on a Saturday and you watch an SEC football game, and then you go watch a Big 12 football game, and you tell me there are no differences between the two, you're lying to yourself. SEC football is truly different than anything else.
Let that man cook.
Hell yeah. All right, my turn?
Yes.
Number 1, it will always be physical. This isn't like the Big 12 or the Pac-12 where, hey, we get a couple of weeks off before we have to really fight for our Oklahoma games or against Texas. Even if you're playing South Carolina, it's a physical game. Like, the lesser teams are still going to bring it every year or every week.
Even if their coaches don't wear shoes.
Exactly. Number 2, the fans are actually batshit crazy. The SEC is the only conference I can think of where fans will actually kill each other. There have been murder charges. There have been brothers and sisters actually have fist fights. I mean, hell, we all know about the poison trees at Toomer's Corner.
Poison them trees, Paul.
SEC fans are batshit crazy. I don't think there's...
They're gonna die?
Yeah, there's no doubt that they're crazy. Number 3, the home environments are going to be extra brutal. Now, look, Texas has a very strong home environment. Oklahoma has the same. Like you said, walking in the Death Valley is completely different. Walking into Jordan-Hare is voodoo magic. We've all seen it. Alabama's got a tough environment. Georgia hasn't lost in Sanford in 5 years almost, and that one loss was a very, very fluky loss. Like, home teams very rarely lose in this conference. Number 4, the schedule is going to be extra grueling, especially with the added teams this year. You've got more and more mixes than ever, especially with the loss of divisions. You're going to face an Alabama. You're going to face a Georgia. You're going to face an LSU, a team that's going to be like, shit, that's a 50-50 shot right there if we win that game. And then the 5th one is get used to other teams starting to piggyback off of your success. This phrase, it just means more, all that, it belongs to the teams at the bottom of the SEC that kind of want to hitch their wagon to the fact that they're in the same conference as Georgia and Alabama. Vanderbilt says it just means more. It doesn't really just mean more at Vanderbilt, but you have the SEC patch on your jersey, the same as national championship teams do. So you get to say, hey, we're in the SEC now. I saw Oklahoma fans doing this already. Like, oh, it just means more. Am I right, guys?
Anytime them Yankees start running that trap,
exactly,
got something to throw in their
I'll know
face.
it was a little crazy to watch Ohio State fans claim a Big Ten title that was Michigan's this year. That was a little weird.
Oh, yeah, that was weird.
I think these conference alliances and conference pride goes a little bit further than just the SEC lines, to be honest with you.
For sure.
And the TV contract is bigger in the Big Ten. So it does kind of mean more there financially, just to let you know.
It does not.
It does not. It absolutely does not. Georgia has 4 wide receivers committed in the 2025 class. Let's see if I can do this off the top of my head. Probably can't. Taylor Taylor.
Yes.
Come on.
Nah, dude. It's that dry for me right now. It's been
Thomas
a long week.
Blackshear.
Thomas Blackshear. There's 2 from the state of Georgia.
Landon
right?
Rolden.
Landon Rolden from North Oconee.
And then the
Who
other,
am I forgetting?
I just drew a blank too.
Another kid from Tennessee.
Mike.
This is really, really bad. Can you put the camera over there while I obviously Googled this?
Maybe say that like, hey, go to 4 real quick. I didn't know what you were going to do.
Are we
No, I don't mind being,
are we being
in the
quiet
midst here.
or are we watching Roquan Smith film?
Yeah.
Taylor.
Let's go to the board
Okay.
real quick and watch this Roquan Smith film.
Taylor, Tyra Williams was the one I was forgetting. The kid
Tyra
out of Florida.
Williams.
Tyra Williams, Landon Rolden, and Thomas Blackshear. Now, they are saving room for a 5th. Based off everything that I have heard. Obviously, the number one target is to flip CJ Wiley or maybe continue to talk to Travis Smith Jr. But if you're going to flip a commit inside the state, you would imagine they're going after CJ Wiley. Then all of a sudden, this recent offer popped up with a 5-star. All right. And that 5-star's name is Jerome Miles. And he is a freak. Okay. And Georgia offered this kid out of Utah. And all of a sudden, Georgia's heavily in the mix. They make the top 7 for this cat. And I thought it was necessary that we bring you his film today. I have not watched this. All I know is this kid's got absolutely insane measurables. He measures in at 6'3", 220 pounds, and runs a 4.38. He is 10.35, I believe, verified
Holy
in
shit.
the 100 meter. He's not 230 pounds. He's like 210, but he is a thick kid. Okay, Jerome Miles. Super excited to watch this film. All right, it's our player of the day. And like I mentioned, I think they're going to sign 5 or try to sign 5, certainly saving room to go do so. Let's take a look. Playing in Utah Stadium right here, I would presume this is a state championship game. He's outside. I would imagine this is head top right off the start here. Just a straight up poster out to the top of the screen. Yeah, he is a burner, son.
Hey.
He's a burner. That dude behind him was in full tilt sprint. About fell over. Looks smooth, too.
Same play.
Looks really smooth.
No, it's not.
Tracks it well. Huh?
Nothing.
You thought it was the same play?
I thought it was. I think it is the same route, but
Yeah. Outside release. Now we got a little sluggo, a little stop and go.
That's a Lad McConkey route.
Yeah, it is. He didn't quite sell it as much as you thought he would, but that's all right. Little stiff, little tight and upright. All right, but I like what he does after the catch. I would have liked for him to switch the ball in his outside hand at some point here, but he did not. That's okay. Big glutes on this kid. Big glutes on this kid. I like the quarterback. Quarterback's putting it in some spots right here, man. Quarterback's putting it in some spots. Let's see here. We'll play action on the post again. Ooh, good high point. He caught that football. Wow. Good tough hands right there. Looks like there's some confusion on the line of scrimmage. Doesn't quite know what he's running here. That's a busted play for sure. Let's see what he does. I bet it's a high point in the end zone. Actually, toe drag. Good body control right there on the sideline.
Corner wants an OPI.
Corner wanted an OPI, wanted to push off. Tough titty.
Just ran past him?
Yeah, just ran right by him. Oh, double caught that. I would have liked to see solid hands on the first touch.
Faded to the sideline a little bit.
Ooh, good release right here on the line of scrimmage for a 6'3" kid. Look at this next play right here. Just a great man or a press man coverage beat right here off the line of scrimmage. That guy's cooked immediately, and we high point him. I think we got toes in bounds right there as well. Ow!
Oh!
Ow! That's a linebacker getting his shit rocked.
Is that a flag in college football?
No, it is not. Unless you're blocking back towards the line of scrimmage. Yeah, well, Michael Orridge right there. Coach, where were you taking him? To the bus.
Oh, so we got a blocker.
Yeah, we got a blocker
This is why he's getting it off.
Yeah, this is why James Coley called for sure. James Coley saw this clip and was like, you know what?
This is more impressive than his route running.
I remember me some Riley Ridley. Riley Ridley, best downfield blocker at the wide receiver position I've seen in the last 6 or 7 years. In my opinion. High point? Yep.
Very nice. He's physical.
Very, and is a natural athlete. He moves really, really fluidly at this size.
Oh, QB saw it too late.
Yeah, QB was late there. Oh my God, he put somebody on his face? That's crazy. These boys out in Utah probably don't know what they're looking at when this kid lines up next to him, do they?
Not.
Is he a consensus 5-star, Jonathan?
Let me look.
Oh, double caught that. You know what? That's 2 double catches on a highlight tape. I don't love that.
Yeah.
That's not ideal.
There's a couple of
times the ball's getting loose on the body, and that's the end of the highlight tape.
He is a composite 4-star.
Composite 4-star. Who's got him as a 5?
247.
247's got him as a 5?
But composite 45th best player in the nation, 7th best wide receiver in the country.
Got that George Pickens in him. I don't necessarily see that.
Nah, he's just physical.
Yeah.
Just because you put a DB on their ass when you're blocking doesn't make you George Pickens.
George's also rail thin. This kid is not.
No, he's thick.
What's going on with 3 over there, my guy?
What the hell? Should be back. It's on me, chat.
It is indeed on you. We got 5 minutes. Bucket of Concepts.
We have that. We could. Didn't we have something in our back pocket for?
We already used it.
We had a JIC. We already used it. Bucket of Concepts.
Bucket of Concepts.
Bucket of Concepts. This always goes really well unscripted. That's why it's Bucket of Concepts, I guess. Ooh, I like that one. Right on the top. Right on the top. Definitely rummage, though. Definitely rummage. Don't pick the one I just told you to pick right on the top. What do you got?
Power.
I'm freaking shocked. It's Power? Oh, Power. Power's a great run play. Power, as my offensive line coach in college said, I believe the Bible says basically like the first day God invented light, and then the second day he invented water, and then the third day he was getting busy with some animals, and then on day 4
he was what?
He was busy. The Lord was busy creating life. Okay, the Lord was busy, and then on day 7, what did he do? Do you know what he did? He rested. You know what he did on day 8?
Invented power.
Day 8, he got his butt up and he invented the run play power. That's exactly what he did. All right, we like to run power to the open gap. Okay, we want to run power to the 3 technique, ideally. Actually, probably to the shade. So here's how we're going to do this, if I remember correctly. Okay, we got a shade tech over here. Power is ideal against a 4-man front, which most teams are running. Okay, power, like trap, okay, power is a 1 one lineman addition to the play side. Okay, we're going to take a hat from the backside. We're going to add him onto the front side. On trap, okay, we're going to pull the backside guard and we're going to kick the defensive end. On power, okay, we're going to base block out the front side defensive end. We're going to combo the nose to the backside Willie, okay, or actually we're going to ISO with the backside guard through the nose. We're going to take the center and back block to the 3. We're going to pinch hinge with the tackle, okay, and he's going to work back to the end, and then we're going to pull the backside guard. We're going to insert him on the mic on the play side, okay? Guard is reading this off the hip of the front side, or the running back rather, is reading this off the hip of the front side guard. It's down block on the nose tackle to space off of the front or the backside puller, okay? Power, a little bit different than trap. Power also was heavily ran in the early, I would say, aughts or early 2010s. From 2010 to like 2019, teams were really favoring power and running power pass off of this. When you run play action off of this and you start pulling backside guards, it not only helps with the surface, meaning the front side guard really gets an easy down block on that nose, but it also heavily impacts these linebackers that pull up once they see pulling guard.
Why have teams kind of gotten away from running this play?
Counter.
I was gonna say, I see a lot more counter nowadays.
See a lot more counter than I do power nowadays. Also, I think mint fronts have really kicked this out of football when we don't necessarily dictate every time where the 3's lining up. Used to, we would be in a 4. Everyone was running 4 down fronts. Everybody was an even front football team. So when I came to the line of scrimmage, if I put the back on the right, I could almost guarantee that the 3 technique would be on the left side of the defense. And now we have an ability to kind of dictate where the bubbles are. I think counter being added into football, or not added back in, I should say added in football is incorrect, added back into football, becoming much more of a prominent play call, certainly removed power from the plays. Also, H-backs getting heavily involved in football. Like once we started putting sniffers in the mix, they started being added in. So like once we started doing this kind of stuff where we put the H-back right here, now it's really easy to run counter. Now we can just pinch hinge again with that backside tackle. Now we can insert the H. Makes counter a lot easier.
I like it.
Which this is the base counter. Tray counters ran far more often than traditional GT counter. Y'all keep looking at the chat and smiling. What's going on over there?
Oh, just chat being chat.
They said that Chaz Chandler says diet Christian Kirby.
I don't know if I agree with that, but
I think your diet Chaz Chambliss.
Yeah.
I'll say I don't know if I'd agree with that. Chaz Chandler was just diet Christian Kirby, but I'm honored. Thank you, Henry.
Truly, that is probably the biggest compliment you could ever get.
It is one of them, yeah.
You got photographed today. Did you know that?
By who?
By somebody in the Discord chat.
On my bike?
Yep. On your bike this morning. People were wondering if you were heading off to play pickleball or to CrossFit, and whether or not
I don't do CrossFit. First of all, I will beat the CrossFit.
How many Nature Valley bars do you keep in your book bag?
Nature Valley sucks. I'm not trying to make a mess when I eat.
So what is your snack bar of choice?
I don't want to say it.
I know you got one.
Gatekeeping nutrition bars.
No, because it's gonna be so on brand with what you people want to say.
You people.
Yeah.
Be careful.
You want to know what it is?
Yeah, come on.
I make my own peanut butter and I keep it in a mason jar. And then I'll just like take a scoop of it. And, yeah, I knew that. That's the reaction I was expecting.
That's enough.
That's the reaction I was expecting.
That's enough for tonight's show. We'll see you tomorrow. Make sure you hit that like button on your way out.